Belinda's point of view.
By 9:30 that night, I had buttercream on my elbow, flour in my braids, a burn forming on the inside of my wrist, and $93 in the bakery account. $93.12, if God wanted to be petty. The mixer coughed like it had been smoking cigarettes longer than my Uncle Derek. The front display held 3 lonely lemon bars, and the rent notice taped beneath the register stared at me with landlord eyes. I stared back. "Don't start with me," I told it. "I know where you live." The bakery was officially closed, but Sweet Mercy never really slept. Not when bills stacked up like funeral programs. Not when the left oven made a whining sound every time I asked it to act like a professional appliance. Not when a bride canceled her wedding cake 12 hours before pickup because, according to her tearful voicemail, she had caught the groom testing the vows with her cousin. Her words, not mine. So now I had a half-decorated 4-tier wedding cake sitting in my walk-in cooler like a frosted monument to bad decisions. Cindy had begged me to go home. Melon had texted me 3 crying emojis, a skull, and "Don't die in there, boss." But I stayed, because canceled or not, that cake was already paid for halfway, and if I could resell it, maybe I could cover the electric bill before the city decided darkness was a good look for my business. I was piping gold vines onto the bottom tier when the front bell chimed. I froze. The door was locked. I knew it was locked because I had checked it twice after a drunk man tried to argue with me about whether red velvet was just chocolate with attitude. The bell chimed again, softer this time. My hand tightened around the piping bag. "If you are here to rob me," I called, "I need you to be realistic about what you're taking. There are lemon bars and trauma." No answer. I wiped my hands on my apron and walked out front. A man stood inside my bakery. Not outside the glass door, not peering in from the sidewalk. Inside. He was too tall for the room. That was my first thought. The ceiling suddenly seemed lower, the walls closer, the air thinner. He stood near the display case in a black coat that looked too expensive to exist on my side of town. His dark hair fell past his shoulders. Rain caught in the strands though the street outside was dry. His face was sharp, handsome in a way that felt less like beauty and more like a warning carved by somebody cruel. And his eyes, gold. Not brown with a little honey, not hazel in good lighting. Gold. I looked at the locked door behind him, then at him, then at the locked door again. "No," I said. "Absolutely not." His gaze moved to me. It did not wander like most men's eyes did. It landed, heavy, certain, like I had become the only thing in the room worth noticing. "You are Belinda," he said. I picked up the nearest object on the counter, which happened to be a bread knife. Not ideal for battle, but I had once seen Cindy use it to cut a frozen baguette, so I trusted its violence. "Depends who's asking." Malrik. Just one name, like Beyoncé, but with more threat. I waited. He did not add a last name, a reason, or an apology for magically breaking into my bakery, like an overgrown gothic tax collector. "Okay, Malrik." I lifted the knife a little. "The bakery is closed. I require a wedding cake." I blinked. Of all the things he could have said, that was somehow the most insane. "You require a what?" "A wedding cake? At 10 o'clock at night?" "Yes." "For when?" "Dawn." I stared at him. Then I laughed. I did not mean to. It just came out of me, sharp and tired and a little unhinged. "Sir, unless dawn has been rescheduled for next Thursday, you are out of luck." His expression did not change. "I was told you could make one." "I can make one. I can also make croissants, birthday cakes, and an argument for why landlords shouldn't be allowed to breathe. That doesn't mean I can bend time." His eyes shifted toward the back, toward the kitchen. I stepped sideways, blocking the view. "I have one," he said. I went still. "No, I have one," I corrected. "A cancelled order, 4 tiers. Vanilla bean, brown sugar buttercream, rum caramel between layers, gold detailing. It was supposed to feed 180 people and witness a marriage that no longer deserves dessert. I will take it. You don't even know the price." "Name it." There were moments in life when dignity mattered. This was not one of them. 3,000, I said. His face remained unreadable. I swallowed. 5,000. Still nothing. 10, I said, because exhaustion had made me stupid, and God had apparently sent me a rich intruder with cheekbones. Malrik reached into his coat. I tightened my grip on the knife. He pulled out a coin. 1 coin. It was gold, thick and old-looking, stamped with a dragon curled around a crown. The metal caught the bakery light and seemed to glow from the inside. Not shine. Glow. Like it had swallowed fire and politely kept it there. He placed it on the glass counter. The second it touched down, every light in the bakery flickered. I looked up. He watched me with that grave, unsettling focus. "What is this?" I asked. "Payment." "That is a coin." "Yes." "I said $10,000. That is worth more. People who break into bakeries don't get to decide the exchange rate." A faint line appeared between his brows. "You do not trust gold?" "I don't trust strange men who appear in locked buildings asking for emergency wedding cake with pirate money. It is not pirate money." That's exactly what a pirate would say. For the first time, something almost like confusion crossed his face. It made him look younger for half a second. Not harmless, never harmless, but less like a nightmare wearing designer leather. I should have told him to leave. I should have called Derek. I should have called the police and explained, very calmly, that a 6'8" man with dragon eyes had teleported into my bakery and wanted to buy a cursed wedding cake. Instead, I picked up the coin. It was warm. Too warm. Heat sank into my palm, not painful, but intimate. Like the coin knew me. Like it had been waiting for my skin. My breath caught. Malrik's gaze dropped to my hand. The air changed. I felt it before I understood it. Pressure rolled through the bakery, deep and invisible. The old mixer in the kitchen gave one final sad cough and went silent. The sugar packets in their little jar rattled. Somewhere behind me, the cooling rack trembled against the wall. Malrik took one step closer. "Say it," he said. My common sense screamed. My bank account screamed louder. "Say what?" "That you accept." I gave him a look. "Do you need me to write you a receipt?" His jaw flexed. "Words matter." "Fine." I closed my fingers around the coin. "I accept your gold as payment for the wedding cake." The lights went out. Only for a second. When they came back, Malrik was staring at me like I had just put a knife through his heart or a crown on his head. Maybe both. Before I could ask what the hell that meant, he bowed. Not a little nod. A full, formal bow. It made no sense on a bakery floor dusted with flour and sprinkles, but somehow the room seemed to understand him better than I did. "I will return at sunrise," he said. "For the cake?" His eyes lifted to mine. "For you." My stomach dropped. Wrong answer, but he was already walking toward the door. "It's locked," I snapped. He touched the handle. The deadbolt turned by itself. The door opened. A breath of cold air swept in, carrying the scent of rain, smoke, and something wilder underneath. Something that made every instinct in my body sit up and whisper, "Run." Then he was gone. I stood there for a long time, holding the coin and the bread knife, listening to my own heart act like it wanted to file a complaint. Finally, I did what any reasonable woman would do. I locked the door again, shoved a prep table in front of it, and searched online. Antique gold coin dragon crown value, not pirate. Nothing useful came up. By 3 in the morning, I had finished the cake. By 4, I had fallen asleep in the office chair with my apron still on. By 6, Cindy was calling me nonstop. I woke up with my neck bent wrong and my phone buzzing against my cheek. "What?" I croaked. "Belinda," Cindy whispered. I sat up. "Why are you whispering?" "Because there are people outside." My eyes opened fully. "What people?" "Rich people. Scary people. Some of them have bodyguards. Some of them might be bodyguards." One woman has a snake tattoo moving on her neck. I don't like that. Also, Derek is here, and he said to tell you not to open the door. My pulse kicked. I stumbled out of the office. Through the front windows, the sidewalk was packed. Men and women stood in neat, silent groups outside my bakery. Expensive coats, black cars, jewelry that looked older than the buildings around them. Their eyes were wrong. Too bright. Too focused. And every single one of them was staring at me. Derek stood near the entrance holding a tire iron like he planned to fight the entire fashion section of a demon funeral. I moved the prep table and cracked the door. "Belinda, don't you dare," Derek started. The crowd dropped to one knee. All at once. My soul tried to leave my body. Cindy screamed from somewhere behind Derek. A woman with silver beads braided into her hair lowered her head. "Bride of the first flame," she said. I stared at her, then at Derek, then at the kneeling crowd. "Nope," I said. "No, I don't know what community theater mess this is, but I have pastries to sell and anxiety to manage." A shadow fell over the street. The kneeling crowd went still. Not quiet. Still. Like even breathing had become illegal. Malrik stepped between them. In daylight, he looked worse. Not ugly. Never that. Worse because now I could see the details. The faint scale-like markings along one side of his face. The gold in his eyes burning brighter than it had last night. The way every dangerous person outside my bakery leaned away from him without moving. He stopped in front of me. I pulled the coin from my apron pocket and shoved it at his chest. "Take it back." His gaze sharpened. "Belinda... No, you don't get to Belinda me." I grabbed his hand and tried to slap the coin into his palm. "Whatever weird rich cult thing you've got going on, I am not interested. I sold you a cake. That is all. Transaction finished." The coin burned. I gasped, not because it was hot, because it melted. Liquid gold spilled between my fingers, wrapping around my ring finger like a living thing. I tried to shake it off, but it tightened, smooth and perfect, forming a band etched with tiny dragon scales. The crowd inhaled. Derek cursed. My hand trembled. Malrik looked at the ring. Then he lowered himself to one knee before me. The most terrifying man I had ever seen bowed his head on the cracked sidewalk outside my struggling bakery. And in a voice that shook something ancient awake inside my bones, he said, "It is done, my queen." For a full 10 seconds, nobody moved. Not me, not Derek with his tire iron. Not Cindy, who had one hand over her mouth and the other clutching her phone like she was deciding whether to call the police, the church, or TMZ. Not the crowd of beautiful, terrifying strangers kneeling on the cracked sidewalk outside my bakery. And definitely not Malrik, the massive man on one knee in front of me, his head bowed like I'd done something grand instead of accidentally accepting suspicious coin money from a supernatural lunatic. My ring finger throbbed. The gold band sat there smooth and warm, like it had always belonged on my hand. I hated that it fit perfectly. "Get up," I said. Malrik lifted his head. His gold eyes met mine, and something possessive flashed through them so fast my breath caught. "Not until they have witnessed. The sidewalk has gum on it." His brows drew together. "That matters?" "Yes, it matters. You are kneeling in public outside my bakery after turning my finger into jewelry. Get up." A murmur moved through the crowd. Someone whispered, "She commands him." Someone else whispered, "And he obeys?" Derek took one big step toward me. "Belinda." "I'm okay," I said automatically. I was not okay. I was standing in yesterday's jeans, an apron covered in buttercream, and a ring that had grown out of melted dragon gold, while a crowd of rich monsters called me queen. My life had left common sense behind and taken the bus straight into bullshit. Malrik rose. He did not stand like normal people. He unfolded. 6 feet and 8 inches of black leather, broad shoulders, dark hair, and that face that looked like trouble had prayed and gotten a body. Derek pointed the tire iron at him. "You, back up." The crowd hissed. Malrik's gaze slid to the tire iron. Every person outside my bakery went still again. I stepped between them because Derek was brave, loyal, and too stubborn to survive a bad decision. No killing my cousin, I told Malrik. I had not decided to kill him. That is not comforting. Derek blinked. Had not decided? Cindy made a small sound behind him. I am going to throw up. Not on the welcome mat, I said. I paid for that. Malrik looked at me as if I'd said something fascinating. I held up my ringed hand. Explain. Now. His eyes dropped to the band. His expression softened, but only slightly. On him, softness looked like a blade wrapped in velvet. You accepted my gold. I accepted payment. You accepted true gold from my living hoard, spoken over a wedding offering. A cake, I snapped. It was a cake. In my culture, food prepared for union is oath food. In my culture, it is dessert. His jaw tightened. Words matter, Belinda. You told me that after you broke into my bakery. I entered because the wards allowed me. The what allowed you? He seemed genuinely confused by my anger. That almost made it worse. He stood there like any reasonable woman should already understand ancient dragon marriage law before breakfast. I closed my eyes for 1 second. Just one. When I opened them, he was still there. Damn. So let me understand this, I said slowly. I took a coin, and now I have in-laws with wings. A few people in the crowd made offended noises. Malrik looked over his shoulder. The noises died immediately. Not in-laws, he said. Subjects. I laughed once. That is worse. Derek's face twisted. Subjects? Belinda, what the hell did you get into? A cake order. Cindy leaned around Derek, eyes wide. Is he rich? I gave her a look. Cindy. What? I'm panicking, but I'm still me. Malrik turned back to me. You are now claimed under the first flame. Any hand raised against you is a hand raised against me. Claimed. The word tasted sour. I'm not a lost suitcase. No. His voice lowered. You are my bride. The way he said it sent heat straight through me, unwanted and sharp. Not sweet, not romantic. It sounded like a lock sliding into place. I hated that some stupid part of me reacted. I hated that he noticed. His gaze dropped to my mouth for half a second, then returned to my eyes with a focus so intense it felt like a touch. Nope, I said, pointing at him. Do not look at me like that. I did not agree to be anyone's bride. You spoke acceptance. For money. For gold. For rent, I shot back. For electricity. For the busted mixer in my kitchen that sounds like it has tuberculosis. I did not say, yes please, make me queen of the dragon mafia. Another murmur, louder this time. Dragon, Derek said quietly. Cindy whispered, I knew it. I turned on her. You knew what? I didn't know. But look at him. Before I could answer, the crowd split. A man stepped forward from the back. He was handsome in the same dangerous way many of them were, but his face carried a mean kind of pride. His hair was braided close to his skull, and red sparks moved beneath the skin at his throat like embers trapped under glass. He did not kneel. Malrik's body changed. Not fully. Not in any way I could explain without sounding drunk, but the air around him thickened. Heat rolled off his shoulders. The gold in his eyes sharpened until it hurt to look at him. The man smiled. So, this is her? He said. The human who bought a throne with a bakery cake? I felt my eyebrows rise. Bought? Baby, if I was buying a throne, I'd have negotiated better. A few faces in the crowd twitched. The man's smile died. You speak too freely. And you walked up to my business talking shit before 7 in the morning. We all have flaws. Derek muttered, That's my girl. Malrik did not smile. Leave, Kieran, he said, the man's red-lit eyes fixed on me. If she dies before the final binding, the claim breaks. The street went silent. My stomach dropped. There it was. Not confusion, not ceremony, not some royal misunderstanding wrapped in pretty gold. Death, real and ugly. Malrik moved one step in front of me. "Say another word," he said softly, "and I will pull your tongue out through your throat." Kieran laughed. Then his mouth split wider than any human mouth should. Cindy screamed. Black-red scales ripped across his face. His fingers bent backward with wet cracks, stretching into claws. Heat burst from him, rotten and metallic, and the air filled with the stink of burned pennies. I staggered back. The ring on my finger flared. Gold light snapped around my hand and crawled up my wrist like fire with manners. "What the fuck?" I breathed. Kieran lunged. I did not see Malrik move. 1 second the dragon man was coming for me. The next, Malrik had him by the throat and slammed him into the side of a parked black car, hard enough to cave the door in. Glass exploded. The crowd scattered back, but nobody ran. Maybe dragons did not run. Maybe they were too proud. Maybe they were just used to blood before breakfast. Kieran clawed at Malrik's arm. Flames spilled from his mouth, dark and hungry. Malrik leaned close. White fire lit behind his teeth. My whole body knew fear then. Not worry, not panic. Fear. Ancient, bone-deep animal fear. The fire that rolled from Malrik was not like flame from my ovens. It was alive. It did not dance. It hunted. Kieran choked. The white fire touched his throat. He screamed. I should have looked away. I did not. The skin there blackened in a clean line, like the fire was writing a warning. Malrik's voice dropped into something rougher than human. "You threatened my bride." Kieran's feet kicked against the ruined car. "Malrik," I said. He did not look at me. The grip tightened. "Malrik." Still nothing. I stepped closer even though every bit of sense I had was begging me not to. Heat pressed against my face. The ring burned brighter, shielding me from the worst of it. I reached for his sleeve. The second my fingers touched him, his head turned. His eyes were no longer just gold. They were molten. "Don't kill him in front of my bakery," I said, voice shaking. "That is terrible for business." For one wild second I thought he might not understand. Then the white fire vanished. Kieran dropped to the ground, gagging. One hand clamped over his burned throat. Malrik stared at me. "You object because of business?" "I object because murder is generally frowned upon, yes. But also I just mopped." Derek made a strangled sound behind me. Cindy whispered, "She's insane." Malrik's gaze searched my face like he was trying to solve me and failing. Good. I was failing too. He turned to the crowd. "Let this be carried to every clan. Belinda is under my fire. Any dragon who comes for her will not be challenged." His voice deepened. "They will be eaten." Nobody laughed. Not even me. Kieran was dragged away by 2 silent men, blood and smoke trailing behind him. I looked at the damaged car, the kneeling crowd, my ring, then Malrik. "My bakery," I said. "My employees, my cousin. They are not part of whatever this is." "They are now." "No." "Yes." I stepped close enough to poke one finger into his chest. It was like poking a wall that did push-ups. "Listen to me, Dragon Lord. You may have melted your little coin onto my hand, but you do not get to rearrange my entire life without explaining every damn piece of it." His gaze dropped to my finger on his chest. Possession flickered again. Then something else. Interest. "You are not afraid enough," he said. "Oh, I am terrified." I looked him dead in the eye. "I just have bills." For the first time, Malrik's mouth almost curved. Then his expression hardened as a shadow passed over the street. I looked up. Something enormous moved above the rooftops. Wings. Not one pair. Several. Cindy whispered, "Nope." Derek said, "Belinda, get inside." Malrik's hand closed around mine. Firm. Hot. Unyielding. This time the ring did not burn. It answered him. Gold light pulsed between our joined hands. "The attack was a warning," he said. "The next one will be worse." I swallowed, staring at the sky as another winged shadow crossed the morning sun. "So," I said, because humor was apparently the last thing standing between me and a nervous breakdown, "do queens get coffee before the assassination attempts, or is that extra?" Malrik looked down at me. "You will come with me now." I looked at Sweet Mercy behind me. My cracked sign, my tired ovens, my whole life smelling like sugar, butter, and survival. Then I looked at the dragons gathering above my roof. And for the first time since that cursed coin touched my hand, I understood one thing clearly. This was not a misunderstanding anymore. This was war, and somehow I was the wedding cake in the middle of it.
Malrik's point of view.
Humans built their world out of breakable things. Glass doors, thin walls, painted signs. Cars that dented when a dragon's body struck them. Little locks they trusted with their lives. Belinda trusted none of it. She sat in the back of my vehicle with her arms folded, her ringed hand tucked beneath one elbow like she thought hiding it could undo the claim. Her cousin sat beside her, still holding that pathetic tire iron. The other woman, Cindy, had not stopped whispering prayers, curses, and questions into her phone. The young one they called Melon had arrived during the confusion and now clutched a box of pastries to his chest as if sugar could save him. Belinda looked out the window as we left her bakery behind. I watched her reflection. She was furious. Very well. Fear alone made humans stupid. Anger kept them breathing. "You said I'm coming with you," she said, not looking at me. "You did not say my people were being abducted too. They are attached to you. They work for me. That is not the same thing as being attached. The dragon who threatened you knew your face by sunrise. Others will know their faces by noon. If they remain unguarded, they become leverage." Derek leaned forward. "You touch one hair on her head." I turned my eyes to him. He stopped speaking. Belinda snapped, "Do not dragon-eye my cousin." "Dragon-eye? You know exactly what I mean." I did not, but this was not the time to ask. Her scent filled the vehicle despite the blood and smoke on my clothes. Brown sugar, butter, adrenaline, warm skin. Fear buried under stubbornness. It irritated me that I noticed every part of her. It irritated me more that my body responded as if the claim had been a deliberate choice instead of a political necessity wrapped in accident. My dick had wanted her from the moment she lifted that bread knife at me. That was simple. Lust was simple. A body knew what it wanted, and mine had taken queens, concubines, warriors, widows, and liars across centuries without needing one single lesson in tenderness. But Belinda had put her small hand on my sleeve while white fire lived in my throat. And I had stopped. That was not simple, that was dangerous. The Eyrie rose above the oldest part of the city, hidden behind human banks, luxury towers, and a church that had not held a real priest in 60 years. To human eyes, it was only black glass and private elevators. To dragon eyes, it was a fortress carved upward into the sky, veiled in heat shimmer and oath fire. Belinda stepped out of the vehicle and stared. "Of course," she muttered. "Dragon Lord lives in a building with evil billionaire energy. That tracks." Cindy whispered, "It's kind of sexy." Belinda turned. "Cindy, I'm scared, not blind." I did not know why that pleased me, and it should not have. I brought them through the lower hall where my guards knelt so fast their armor struck stone. Belinda flinched at the sound, then pretended she had not. The ring glowed once, a small pulse of gold around her finger. Every dragon in the hall saw it. Every dragon understood. Their queen had arrived. "Prepare the east rooms," I ordered. "Human food, human water, no dragon wine, no raw meat. No one enters without her permission." Belinda blinked. "Wait, you know about permission?" The guard stared straight ahead. I looked down at her. I am not ignorant. She opened her mouth. Derek coughed. Cindy suddenly became very interested in the ceiling. Belinda said, I'm going to let that one pass because I'm running on stress and no coffee. To the kitchen, I told the nearest guard. Bring coffee. How much, my lord? I glanced at Belinda. She said, enough to keep me from committing crimes. Bring a great deal, I said. Her mouth twitched. It vanished quickly, but I saw it. I wanted to see it again. That too was a problem. Julius met me before I entered the council chamber. He was older than most living dragons, lean and silver-eyed, with ink stains on his fingers and scars across his throat from 3 trials of law by flame. He bowed, then looked over my shoulder toward the corridor where Belinda had been taken. So, he said, the rumors are accurate. Which rumors? That you purchased a wedding cake from a human bakery and accidentally acquired a queen. My fire stirred. Julius did not move. Wise old bastard. He knew exactly how close to disrespect he could walk without losing skin. I did not accidentally acquire anything, I said. No? Then you intended this? I said nothing. His mouth tightened, which for Julius was laughter. The court is waiting, he said, and Sheba arrived before dawn. Of course she had. The council chamber had been built for bodies larger than human imagination. The ceiling arched into darkness. Brass chains hung from stone beams. Fire burned in channels across the floor, blue and gold, dividing the seats of the clans. Above us, through a circular opening, the morning sky showed a wheel of circling wings. Every voice died when I entered. Respect was not love. Respect was knowing I could burn every dragon in that chamber and still have enough fire left to light my way home. The council bowed. All except Sheba. She stood near the central flame, dressed in red silk and black scales, her hair braided high with rubies threaded through it. Beautiful, yes. A blade was beautiful too until it opened your belly. My lord, she said, loud enough for every clan to hear. Tell us this insult is not true. I walked to my seat and did not sit. Choose your next words carefully. Her eyes flashed. You cannot mean to honor a human's ignorant acceptance. She did not know what she was doing. She accepted my gold. She accepted payment for flour and sugar. She accepted true hoard gold over oath food with spoken words. The council murmured. Julius stepped to the side, expression grave. By old law, the claim stands. Sheba's nostrils flared. Old law also requires worth. Blood, fire, strength. What does she have? A failing shop, human debt, a mouth too bold for her own safety? My fingers curled. The gold channels in the floor turned white. Several council members shifted back. Sheba saw the change and swallowed, but pride kept her spine straight. I admired pride in enemies. It made their breaking cleaner. She has my ring, I said. She has a mistake on her finger. I moved, not far, not fast enough for theater. Only one step. The chamber shook anyway. Sheba went silent. You have told clans I favored you, I said. You have accepted gifts in my name. You have sat beside my empty chair during feasts and let fools believe you warmed my bed. Her face tightened. The chamber went very still. I corrected no one because your lies did not matter, I continued. Now they end. My clan expected, I did not. You need a queen who understands dragon law. I have advisors for law. You need a woman who understands your fire. My fire is not yours to understand. Her eyes shone with rage. And your bed? Does the human understand that? Or will you teach her like some frightened little pet? My fire rose so violently that the stone beneath her feet cracked. Speak of my bride as lesser again, I said softly, "and I will hang your tongue over my gates." This time she bowed. It was not obedience, it was hatred wearing manners. The eldest counselor cleared his throat. "My lord, the issue is not only Sheba's disappointment." Sheba's mouth twisted, but she stayed silent. "The attack by Kieran of the Red Throat was not random," the elder continued. "He moved before formal challenge because all clans know the claim is incomplete." I looked at Julius. He nodded once. "The acceptance is binding, but the final oath has not been sealed before the first flame. Until then, if Belinda dies, the claim breaks." The chamber seemed to lean toward me. There it was, the shape of the trap. Belinda alive gave me legitimacy no council could deny. Belinda dead gave my enemies accusation, weakness, and blood right to challenge my throne. A human woman with buttercream on her sleeve had become the hinge on which my reign could swing. I should have been furious at her. I was furious at everyone else. "She will not die," I said. The elder lowered his gaze. "Every ambitious dragon in the city will test that statement." "Let them." "My lord," I said, "let them." White fire slipped between my teeth. A few dragons bowed their heads, not from loyalty but instinct. Their bodies knew what their pride forgot. "If they come for her," I said, "I will answer." Julius spoke carefully. "Fire will kill enemies. It will not make her safe from fear." I turned on him. He did not bow this time. "She is human," he said. "She does not understand our customs, our laws, our nature. You dragged her from a life she built with her own hands. If you guard her like treasure and speak to her like property, she will fight you harder than your enemies do." Something sharp moved behind my ribs. Belinda's voice returned to me. "You keep saying protect like it means own." She had not said it yet, not in those exact words. But I could feel the sentence waiting inside her. It annoyed me. It also felt true. I dismissed the council before I burned through my patience. Sheba left with her chin lifted and murder in her perfume. I let her go, for now. Julius followed me to my private chamber without being invited. "I need no lecture," I said. "You need several." I glared at him. He ignored it. "Do you know how human courting works?" "I know how bodies work." "That is not the same." "It has always been enough. With dragons who expected nothing else from you, perhaps. With a human wife who did not know she was becoming your wife. No." The words struck harder than they should have. I remembered Belinda's face when the ring formed. Not awe, not greed, shock, fear. Then anger, bright and alive. "I will not force her," I snapped. "I know." Julius studied me. "But not forcing is the floor, Malrik, not the ceiling." I hated scholars. They made simple things complicated and complicated things impossible. After he left, I stood alone in a room built from obsidian and dragon bone, surrounded by weapons, crowns, tribute, and maps of territories I had won with blood. I had survived wars, betrayals, poison, assassination, and 1 century-long sleep beneath a mountain. Yet the thought of speaking gently to one furious baker sat in my chest like a blade. On my desk lay a human phone. I had purchased it years ago and mostly used it to threaten bankers. I picked it up. The device unlocked after 3 attempts and 1 growl. I opened the search bar. For a long moment I stared at it. Then with 1 finger I typed, "How to make human wife feel safe." The results appeared instantly. I frowned. There were too many. One said communication was important, another suggested flowers, another said listening, one article titled 10 Ways to Rebuild Trust. After a sudden marriage seemed suspiciously specific. I opened it. The first sentence read, "Do not overwhelm your spouse with controlling behavior." I set the phone down before I crushed it. A knock came at the door. "Enter." One of my guards stepped inside and bowed so low his forehead nearly touched the floor. "My lord." "What?" The queen requested coffee, inspected the locks, argued with Moses about fire safety, and is now gone to the lower furnace. I went still. "She what?" The guard swallowed. "She said if dragons are going to keep trying to burn her alive, she would like to know the rules before lunch." For the first time in longer than I could remember, I did not know whether to roar or laugh. Belinda, my accidental bride, my political disaster, my human weakness with a gold ring and a sharper tongue than half my court, had walked toward Dragonfire on purpose. I reached for my coat. "Take me to her."
The room they gave me was bigger than my entire apartment. Not a little bigger. Not, oh, this is spacious bigger. Bigger like somebody had built it specifically to insult my tax bracket. There was a bed large enough to host a small family reunion, black stone walls veined with gold, heavy curtains, a fireplace that burned without wood, and a bathroom with a tub so deep I briefly wondered if rich people bathed or got baptized every night. Derek checked the windows. Cindy checked the Wi-Fi. Melon checked the fruit bowl and whispered, "These grapes look expensive." I stood in the middle of the room with a cup of coffee in one hand and a dragon marriage ring on the other, trying very hard not to scream. A guard stood outside the door. Another one stood inside the hall. 2 more waited by the private elevator. For my protection, apparently. Funny how protection looked a lot like being trapped when the people doing it had claws under their skin. Derek turned from the window. "We are too high up." I noticed. "No fire escape." Also noticed. Cindy lifted her phone. "And no service unless I connect to their Wi-Fi, which is named firstflame_private. That feels like how people die in horror movies." Melon bit into a grape. "This is the best grape I've ever had." I looked at all 3 of them. My people, my bakery family, dragged into dragon bullshit because I accepted 1 shiny coin from a man too handsome to be trusted. I rubbed my ring with my thumb. It was warm. Always warm. Like it had a pulse. "I'm going to ask questions," I said. Derek narrowed his eyes. "Ask who?" "The first person who looks like they know how not to die here. That is not a plan." "It is the plan we can afford." Before Derek could argue, someone knocked once and opened the door. An older man stepped in. He was tall, though not Malrik tall, with dark brown skin, a close-cut gray beard, and eyes the color of banked coals. His clothes were plain compared to everyone else's dramatic dragon fashion. Black trousers, dark shirt, leather apron marked with burn scars. He smelled like smoke, iron, and rain on hot pavement. "You asked for knowledge," he said. I lifted my coffee. "I asked for many things. Knowledge was one. Also answers, a lawyer, and a sandwich." His mouth twitched. "I am Moses." "The Fire Master?" Cindy whispered. Moses looked at her. She stepped behind Derek. I set my cup down. "You know about dragon fire?" "I know enough to still have both hands. That is the energy I'm looking for." Derek blocked the door with his body. "Where are you taking her?" Moses did not seem offended. "Lower furnace. If she is going to survive this house, she must understand what lives under it." "Absolutely not," Derek said. I touched his arm. "Derek. No. Dragons are trying to kill me with fire." "That is exactly why you're not going to the fire room." "I own a bakery. Fire rooms are kind of my thing." "This is not your oven, Belinda." "No," Moses said quietly. "It is not." That shut all of us up. Moses looked at me, not unkindly. "That is why you should see it before it sees you." Well, that was ominous as hell. The lower furnace was not actually a furnace. It was an arena. The elevator carried us down so far my ears popped twice. When the doors opened, heat rolled in like a living animal. The walls were black basalt, the floors carved with channels of glowing gold, and huge panels of smoky glass divided the walkway from a circular pit below. Inside the pit, dragons practiced murder like it was yoga. Some were fully human except for eyes too bright to trust. Some had scales crawling over their arms. One woman's jaw unhinged wider than it should have before she breathed a controlled stream of red-orange fire at a stone pillar. The pillar cracked in half. I stopped walking. Every nerve in my body said, no, this was not stove fire. This was not candle flame. This was not the polite blue lick of gas under a saucepan. This fire had hunger. It slammed into the stone and kept pushing, roaring, chewing, wanting. The heat slapped sweat onto my skin, curled the ends of my baby hairs, and made my lungs hesitate like breathing had become a negotiation. Moses watched me carefully. "Do you need to sit?" "No," I said, even though my knees had filed a complaint. "I need to know if water helps." His eyes warmed with something like approval. "Good first question." I swallowed. "I have more. What burns? What doesn't? What do I hide behind? Does water help? Can I breathe near it? If my bakery catches dragonfire, am I supposed to stop, drop, and roll or pray?" "Behind us," Cindy whispered. "That last one is important." Moses folded his arms. "Dragonfire has rules." "Thank God. But rules do not make it safe. Nothing about this week has been safe." He pointed toward the pit. "Red fire burns matter. Wood, cloth, skin, bone. Water can weaken it, but if you throw too little, it turns to steam and cooks you from the inside out." I stared. "That is rude." "It is fire. Still rude." "Blue fire burns magic. Wards, curses, glamours. Do not trust any spell against it unless you know who made the spell." "Noted." "Black fire is poison. If you smell bitter metal, do not breathe." I thought of the dragon man outside my bakery, the stink of burned pennies. My stomach tightened. "And gold fire?" I asked, lifting my ringed hand. Moses looked at it. So did every dragon close enough to notice. The ring gave one soft pulse. "Gold fire binds," he said. "Claims. Protects. Sometimes heals. Sometimes punishes. It depends on the oath. Fantastic. My jewelry has moods. Your jewelry is alive with his flame." I hated that my body reacted to that. Malrik's flame. Malrik's claim. Malrik, with his dangerous eyes and his body built like violence, had learned manners. I had bigger problems than wondering if his dick was as arrogant as the rest of him, but stress did weird things to a woman's brain. I forced my attention back to Moses. "What about his fire? The white one?" The entire furnace quieted. Not fully, but enough. Moses' face became serious. "White fire is old fire, royal fire. It does not only burn bodies, it burns vows, lies, bloodlines, intentions. If Lord Malrik turns it on a thing, he is not asking that thing to die. He is ordering the world to forget it ever stood." Cold moved through me despite the heat. I remembered that white glow in Malrik's throat. The way the street had gone still. The way the attacking dragon had screamed. "Can the ring stop it?" I asked. Moses hesitated. There it was. The answer nobody wanted to hand me. "It may protect you from his fire," he said. "If his fire recognizes you." If you panic and reject the bond, the shield can weaken." I laughed once, sharp and ugly. "So I have to trust the magical forced marriage ring not to let my accidental husband burn me?" "Yes." "Great, love that, very normal." Moses stepped closer to the fireglass. "Hide behind stone if you can. Dragonstone is best. Fireglass will hold for short bursts. Human brick may crack. Cars are useless. Wood is a joke. If sparks land on your clothes, scrape them off. Do not slap them. Do not inhale smoke. Get crosswind. Never stand between two dragons unless you are tired of having a body." I nodded slowly. Practical things. Rules. Rules I could hold. Rules I could survive. Then the alarm screamed. The gold channels in the floor flared white. Cindy shrieked. Melon dropped his expensive grapes. Derek grabbed my arm. Across the pit, one of the stone targets split open from the inside. A ribbon of black-red fire shot out like a snake. Straight toward the walkway. Moses shouted, "Down!" My body wanted to freeze. My brain remembered. Stone. Fireglass. Don't breathe. I shoved Cindy behind the basalt column and yanked Melon with my other hand. Derek pushed in front of us, because apparently my cousin's survival instinct was broken. The fire hit the glass. It cracked. Heat punched through so hard my eyes watered. The ring on my finger erupted. Gold light burst over my hand and spread outward, forming a curved shield between us and the flame. It hummed like a deep note in my bones. The black-red fire scraped against it, screaming. I tasted metal. Then Malrik arrived. Not walked in. Arrived. 1 second the corridor beyond the furnace was empty. The next, he was there. Dark hair loose, gold eyes burning, face carved from rage. He lifted one hand. White fire snapped from his palm. It swallowed the black-red flame whole. No smoke, no ash. Just gone. Every dragon in the furnace dropped to one knee. Moses bowed his head. I stayed exactly where I was, shaking, sweating, furious, and very much alive. Malrik crossed the space between us. Who allowed her here? His voice was quiet. That made it worse. Moses lifted his chin. I did. Malrik's eyes cut to him. Explain before I remove your lungs. I stepped in front of Moses. Stupid? Yes. But I had already been almost roasted before lunch. My judgment was not at its best. I asked him, I said. Malrik looked down at me. The air between us burned. You should be in your rooms. I am not luggage. You were attacked. Yes, which is why I'm learning how not to die. My guards will protect you. Your guards were not in my bakery yesterday. Your guards were not in my hand when this ring decided to melt onto me. Your guards will not be in my lungs if I breathe the wrong smoke. His jaw flexed. Good. Let him chew on that. I need rules, I said. Not royal dragon nonsense. Real rules. What burns. What kills. What saves me. You all keep talking like my death is a political inconvenience. It is my whole life. The anger in his eyes shifted. Not gone. Changed. He looked at my hand. The ring still glowed, trembling with leftover fire. Then he reached for me. I almost stepped back. Almost. His fingers closed around my wrist with shocking care. He turned my hand, examining my palm, my ring, the thin, heated line across my skin where the shield had sparked. His thumb brushed near the mark. My breath caught. His gaze lifted. For 1 second, all that violence focused into something worse. Want. Raw. Possessive. Untrained. A look that said he knew exactly how to fuck, but had no idea how to love. Then his hand released me. You will not come here again without me, he said. I pulled my wrist back. That sounded like an order. It was. I smiled without humor. Then we have a problem, husband. The furnace went silent. Malrik's eyes narrowed. I lifted my chin, heart still hammering like it wanted out of my chest. If I'm supposed to be your queen, then we're going to discuss my terms. The furnace went silent in a way that felt personal. Dragons stared at me from the pit. Guards stared from the walkway. Moses looked like he was trying very hard not to smile. Derek looked ready to drag me out by my braids if I gave him half a chance. Malrik just looked down at me. Gold eyes, hard mouth, rage still burning under his skin. A normal man would have argued. Malrik turned his head slightly. Everyone out. The dragons moved, fast. Nobody asked questions. Nobody reminded him this was a training chamber. Nobody said they had just been in the middle of breathing fire at stone pillars. They cleared the place like God had shouted fire drill. Moses bowed his head and started toward the exit. Not you, I said. He stopped. Malrik's gaze cut to me. I lifted my chin. He stays. Derek stays too. Derek said, Damn right. Cindy raised one shaky finger from behind him. Do I stay, or do I go? Because I would like to live, but I also want details. You and Melon go upstairs, I told her. Eat something, drink water, don't sign anything. Melon clutched his grape bowl tighter. I wasn't going to sign anything. You look like someone who could be tricked by fancy paper. That is fair. Cindy gave Malrik one nervous look, grabbed Melon, and hurried out. When the doors closed, only the heat remained. And him. Always him. Malrik's presence filled the furnace like another fire. He stood too close, too large, too intense, and some stupid, stressed part of my body noticed. I hated that. I had almost been cooked alive 10 minutes ago. My survival instincts had no business checking the width of his shoulders. Speak, he said. I blinked. Excuse me? You demanded terms. Speak them. No, we are not doing royal caveman business. We are sitting down like civilized people. There are no chairs? That sounds like a billionaire problem. Moses coughed once into his hand. Malrik looked at him. Moses immediately became interested in the wall. Fine, no chairs. Of course, Dragon Hell Basement had no chairs. Why would anyone need comfort when they could just brood vertically? I crossed my arms. Term 1, I am not being locked away. You are being hunted. I didn't say unguarded. I said not locked away. There is a difference. The difference can get you killed. So can ignorance. So can panic. So can trusting a man who thinks explaining means growling 2 sentences and expecting everyone to clap. His jaw tightened. Nice. Term 2, I continued. My bakery matters. Sweet mercy is not some little human hobby you get to dismiss because you have a castle and a skyscraper. It is my business, my name, my bills, my life. It is exposed. Then protect it. I can buy you another bakery. The look I gave him should have peeled paint. He paused. Then slowly, like the words had to be dragged from a dark cave, he said, That was the wrong answer. Yes, Dragon Lord, it was. Derek muttered, Progress. Term 3, I said. Derek, Cindy, and Melon get protection. Real protection. Not being threatened, not being watched like prisoners, not being snatched into black cars every time a dragon sneezes. Malrik said nothing. Term 4. I raised my ringed hand. This does not give you husband privileges. His eyes darkened. There it was. Heat. Not fire, not exactly. Something lower. Dirtier. The kind of look that could make a woman forget common sense if she wasn't careful. I forced my voice steady. No touching unless I allow it. No kissing unless I want it. No bed. No fucking. No dragon law says. That ring is not a consent form. Your dick does not get a crown by association. Moses made a strangled sound. Derek turned away like he wanted to bleach his ears. Malrik did not laugh. He stepped closer. Just one step, but my whole body felt it. If I wanted to take you, he said quietly, you would already be in my bed. The air turned sharp. Derek moved. Moses caught his arm. I held Malrik's gaze, even though my stomach twisted. Careful, I said. That sounded like a threat. It was a fact. Facts can still make you sound like an asshole. His nostrils flared. I do not force unwilling women. Congratulations. That is the floor, not the ceiling. Something flickered in his face. I remembered Julius saying that. No, I hadn't been there. Maybe common sense had finally arrived wearing different shoes. Malrik looked irritated by the concept. Good. Let him be irritated. Growth was probably uncomfortable when you were ancient and used to everyone bowing before you finished a sentence. Among dragons, he said, a claim carries rights. Among Belinda, it carries conditions. If you don't like them, take it up with customer service. There is no customer service for this. Then suffer. Moses definitely smiled that time. Malrik's gaze moved to him. The smile vanished. Term 5, I said. Truth. No more royal dragon nonsense. No vague warnings. No half answers. I want to know who wants me dead. Why that woman Sheba looked at me like I stole her throne. And what happens if I refuse whatever final binding everyone keeps whispering about? Malrik went still. Ah, there it was. The part he didn't want to discuss. Sheba, he said at last, is the daughter of the Ember House. Her clan is old, wealthy, and loud. Sounds annoying. She allowed the court to believe she would become my queen. Allowed? His mouth hardened. Encouraged. And did you? No. The answer came fast, brutal, certain. Something in my chest loosened before I could stop it. Annoying. Why didn't you correct people? I asked. Because her lie was useful. It kept other clans from offering daughters. It kept marriage petitions away from me. I stared at him. So you let her play pretend because it saved you paperwork? Yes. That is both efficient and emotionally stupid. I did not require emotion. No, clearly you required a bakery accident. His gaze dropped to my mouth. The furnace heat became nothing compared to the sudden warmth crawling through me. He moved closer again. This time, I did not step back. I should have, but he smelled like smoke, leather, and something darkly sweet beneath it. His hair fell around his face, and the scale marks along his cheek caught the firelight like hammered gold. He was terrifying. He was too much. He was the kind of man a woman with sense crossed the street to avoid. Apparently, my sense had taken a lunch break. Do you know what it does to a dragon? He said, voice low, to hear another speak death over his bride? My breath caught. I am not asking as your bride. No. His eyes burned. You are asking as you. That hit harder than it should have. His hand lifted, slow enough that I could move away. I didn't. His fingers touched the air beside my wrist before settling against my skin. Careful. So careful it made my throat tighten. His thumb brushed near the gold ring, not touching it directly, and the band warmed like it recognized him. My body betrayed me with one soft shiver. Malrik saw it. Of course he did. His gaze sharpened, dropping to my mouth again. Belinda. My name in his voice was a problem. A big one. The kind with muscles, fire, and a dick that probably came with its own warning label. He leaned down. Not all the way. Just enough for the air between us to thin. Just enough that I could see the faint gold flecks moving in his eyes. Just enough that one reckless inch would put his mouth on mine. Derek made a sound. Moses murmured, "Let her decide." Malrik froze. I did too. My lips tingled with a kiss that had not happened. I hated that I wanted to know what he tasted like. Fire, probably. Bad decisions. Are you about to kiss me because you want me? I asked softly. Or because you think it proves I'm yours? His eyes searched mine. For once, the Dragon Lord had no immediate answer. Then he said, rough and honest, I do not know. Damn him. That was the first answer I actually believed. I stepped back. The loss of his heat felt like walking out of sunlight. Then not yet. His hand dropped. The muscle in his jaw jumped once, but he did not touch me again. He looked furious. Not at me, at himself. Good. Maybe there was hope for the beast after all. How does a husband earn not yet? He asked. I blinked. Of all the things he could have said, that one almost knocked me sideways. You court me. His expression went blank. Moses looked toward the ceiling like he was praying for strength. Derek muttered, Lord help us. Malrik frowned. Explain courting. I stared at him. You're 37. I am older than that. Of course you are, even worse. What does courting require? Listening, asking, not threatening to remove lungs every 5 minutes. Maybe dinner. I can provide dinner. Cooked dinner. His brows drew together. Obviously. I don't know what's obvious here anymore. A knock struck the furnace door before Malrik could answer. Julius entered with a face like bad news in expensive robes. He bowed to Malrik, then to me. My lord, my queen. Please do not call me that when I'm sweating through my bra, I said. Julius paused. Noted. Malrik turned. Speak. The council has received a petition from 6 houses, Julius said. Sheba leads it. The furnace seemed to tighten around us. I already knew I wasn't going to like this. What kind of petition? I asked. Julius looked at Malrik first. I snapped my fingers. No, term 5. Truth. Malrik's gaze came back to mine. For a second, he looked like he wanted to argue. Then he gave Julius one sharp nod. Julius exhaled. They are demanding your presentation before the clans. A formal test of worth before the final oath. Derek cursed. Moses went still. Malrik's eyes lit white at the edges. Denied. No, I said. Every man in the room looked at me. I was tired, terrified, hungry. My hand still ached from magical jewelry, and my life had turned into a dragon political hostage situation before I'd had breakfast. But I knew one thing. If people were already deciding whether I was worthy, hiding would only make them louder. No more decisions over my head, I said. If they want to see me, they can see me. Malrik's voice dropped. They will try to break you. I looked at the ring on my finger, then at the furnace behind me. Then Moses keeps teaching me. My bakery gets protected, my people stay safe, and you, I pointed at Malrik, you start learning how to court a woman who didn't ask for any of this. His gaze held mine. Long, hot, dangerous. Then he bowed his head. Not to the room. To me. Agreed. The ring pulsed once, bright and warm. Julius watched it with sudden sharp interest. I noticed. So did Malrik. What? I asked. Julius's mouth tightened. The ring, he said slowly. It should not have answered that vow.
Sheba's point of view.
The flowers were the first insult. They choked the eastern hall of Malrik's eyrie in vulgar abundance, spilling over black stone, crowding the gold-veined floor, hanging from balconies like some desperate human mating display. Roses, orchids, sunflowers, soft little mortal things cut at the stem and arranged to die beautifully. For her, for the baker. I stepped through them with 6 houses behind me and did not let my face move. That was the first lesson of court. Rage belonged behind the teeth. The second was simpler. If you must bleed, make someone else do it first. Malrik stood at the center of the floral mess, tall and severe, his long dark hair loose around his shoulders, gold eyes lit with warning. Beside him stood Belinda. Dark skin, long braids, black sweater, human spine held straight as a spear. And in her hand was a dragon steel dagger. My gaze caught on it before I could stop myself. A courtship gift, a weapon from his own armory balanced for her hand. He had not merely hidden the human in a locked room, he had armed her. Interesting, infuriating, dangerous. Belinda looked at me like she was tired and underfed and very close to saying something rude. She did not bow. She did not lower her eyes. She stood near Malrik as if proximity to him did not terrify her, as if she had not tripped into a crown by accepting a coin she did not understand. The ring on her finger glowed softly. My stomach tightened. For 7 years, the court had known where I belonged. Not because Malrik had promised. Malrik did not promise. He conquered, commanded, burned, and endured ceremonies with the expression of a man considering murder. But power had its own language, and I had spoken it fluently. Ember House was old, rich, necessary. Our fire lines stretched back before the first human cities learned to stack stone. My father had given Malrik soldiers when Redthroat rebelled. I had hosted emissaries when Malrik refused to flatter them. I had stood near his chair at council, accepted the whispers, endured the measuring looks from elders who weighed my womb like a treaty. Future queen, they called me. Not loudly at first, then often, then openly. I never corrected them. Neither did he. That silence had been enough to build a throne under my feet. And now a baker with flour under her nails had kicked it apart without even trying. Lord Malrik, I said, lowering my head the precise measure required by rank, and no farther. Ember House comes with a lawful petition. His eyes narrowed. You chose a poor hour. I chose a lawful one. The flowers made the air sweet enough to rot. Belinda glanced between us. Do I need to stand here for this? Or is this one of those dragon conversations where everyone talks around me while pretending I'm furniture? A servant made the mistake of choking on a laugh. Malrik did not look away from me, but I saw the corner of his mouth move. Barely. That tiny, almost smile cut deeper than any insult. The claimed woman may hear law spoken over her, I said, if she has the stomach for it. Belinda lifted the dagger a little. I've had dragonfire thrown at me before lunch. Read your little paper. Several Ember Lords shifted behind me. Too bold, their silence said. Too ignorant, said another silence. Malrik's silence said nothing at all. That was the problem. I unrolled the petition. The houses of Ember, Redthroat, Ashvale, Copperwing, Old Scale, and Flint Maw petition under the 5th Crown Statute. The mortal woman called Belinda, coin-claimed but not oath-bound, must be presented before the clans for formal testing before the final vow may proceed. White fire flashed at the edges of Malrik's eyes. There he was, the beast beneath the Lord. If you threaten my bride again, he said softly, I will hang your house banners in ash. Heat rippled through the hall. Men who had fought wars took half a step back. I did not. Fear was useful, showing it was not. I preserve your throne from error, I said. If she is worthy, let the court see it. If she is not, better law expose it before your enemies do. Belinda's eyes sharpened. She was listening. Good. Let her hear every word. Let her understand that the crown she wore by accident came with teeth inside it. Malrik moved one step toward me. The flowers nearest his boots curled at their edges. My throne does not require your permission. No, I said, but legitimacy requires witness. His jaw flexed. There, the hook caught. He could deny me. He could burn me. He could throw all 6 houses out of his area and call himself satisfied, and every rival would whisper that the human bride had been hidden because she could not survive being seen. Belinda looked at him. Is she right? I hated how she said it. Not my lord, not Dragon King, not even husband. Just looked at him and expected an answer. Worse, he gave her one. Partly. She nodded once, as if that mattered, as if his honesty belonged to her. Then she looked back at me. Fine, I'll come. Malrik turned on her. No. No more decisions over my head, remember? This is not a bakery argument. No, it's a queen argument. Her voice did not shake. And if everybody's going to keep using that word, I might as well learn how heavy it is. The ring flared. Gold light wrapped her finger and pulsed outward. Not toward Malrik, toward her. A murmur moved through the houses behind me. My nails pressed into my palm hard enough to bite. That should not have happened. A claim ring answered ownership. Blood, oath, fire. It did not approve courage. It did not reward defiance. It did not glow because a human woman decided she would not hide. Malrik saw it too. His face closed like a fortress gate, but something passed through his eyes before he locked it away. Awe. He looked at her with awe. Not lust alone. Lust I could have understood. Men became stupid over cunt every hour of every age. A dick was easily led and easier to shame. But awe. Awe made kings kneel. And Malrik had never knelt for anyone. I rolled the petition closed. Then the clans will prepare. Belinda smiled without warmth. Do I get a study guide? Survive, I said. That is the guide. Her smile widened. Helpful. I see why everyone loves you. There was that laugh again. Not loud, not from many, but enough. Enough to make my humiliation breathe. I left before my fire answered it. In the ember carriage, I did not sit. I stood while the city dropped beneath us in bands of glass, steel, and evening shadow. My father watched me from the opposite bench, his rings clicking against the head of his cane. You let her speak too much, he said. I looked out over the lights. She speaks because no one has cut her tongue out. Careful. I am careful. That is why she still has it. His mouth tightened. Lord Berwick of Emberhouse had taught me patience with the tenderness of a blade. When I was 12, he had made me hold a coal in my hand until I learned not to scream. When I was 16, he told me beauty without position was meat on a banquet table. When I was 20, he presented me at court and said, "Make yourself necessary or make yourself dead." I had made myself necessary. Now his disappointment sat in the carriage like a second passenger. "You promised us Malrik," he said. I turned my head slowly. "No, I promised you a crown. And now? Now a human wears its shadow." He struck the cane once against the floor. Sparks scattered. "Fix it." I smiled. At last, a useful command. A knock sounded against the carriage roof. The side door opened and Kieran of Red Throat climbed in without waiting for permission. He looked worse than the last time I had seen him. Malrik's white fire had left a bright scar around his throat, a brutal collar burned into the skin. His voice came rough when he spoke. "Let me kill her." My father's lip curled. "You tried." Kieran's eyes flashed red. I was interrupted. "You were humiliated," I said. His fire rose. Mine rose higher. The carriage temperature climbed until the glass fogged and the air shimmered. Kieran looked away first. "Good. Even wounded dogs could learn." "You will not attack her in Malrik's house," I said. "You will not breathe fire in a hallway like an undisciplined hatchling. Death must wear the law's face or it becomes treason." Kieran sank onto the bench, fingers flexing. Then what? I thought of Belinda's hand around the dagger. Belinda asking questions. Belinda speaking to Malrik as if he were a difficult man and not a force of nature. Belinda refusing to bow. Before the final oath, I said, "The claim is still vulnerable. If she dies now, Malrik bleeds politically. If she dies after, he becomes a widowed king with a sanctified martyr tied to his fire. We do not want that." My father's gaze sharpened. "You believe the ring has chosen?" "I believe it is behaving badly." Kieran spat a curse. "The human need not be stronger than fire," I continued. "She only needs to doubt him when it comes. Fear weakens gold. Rejection cracks protection. Every bride knows this. Human brides do not." "No," I smiled. "They have to be taught." Silence settled. Then my father smiled too. Kieran leaned forward. "How?" "She has attachments, a bakery, workers, a cousin who stands in front of danger as if loyalty makes him fireproof." I looked at Kieran. "When she returns to that bakery, remind her what Malrik's claim costs." His wounded throat worked. "Kill them?" "Frighten them. Burn enough to make her understand. If she dies, tragic. If she lives, better. Fear follows survivors." Kieran's grin split slowly. "Ugly creature. Useful creature." "And the test?" my father asked. "The test will proceed. We will insist on white fire. Publicly, lawfully. Malrik's own flame before every clan." I looked down at my hands, elegant and steady in my lap. If she trusts him, she may survive. If she doubts him, she burns. And if she survives anyway? I thought of the dagger in her hand, the laugh in the hall, the way Malrik had looked at her. I closed my fingers until my rings clicked together like small bones. Then I stopped pretending this is only politics. Outside, the airy burned gold against the night. My crown was still inside it, my future, my throne, not his heart. I had never been foolish enough to want that useless, guarded thing. Not even his bed, though I would have taken his body if it served the crown. Malrik's dick was not the prize, his power was. Belinda had mistaken herself for chosen. The court had mistaken her for protected. Both errors could be corrected. I looked at Kieran. "Go to sweet mercy." His eyes lit. I leaned back at last, letting the shadows take the shape of my smile. A baker should know how quickly sugar burns.
Malrik's point of view.
My terms did not burn with the curtains. Belinda stood in the wreckage of sweet mercy with smoke in her braids, a dragon steel dagger in her hand, and fury bright enough to shame lesser fire. My first instinct was to take her, not argue, not persuade, take. close my hand around her waist, lift her against my chest, carry her out of the ruined bakery, and put her behind every ward in my eyrie until the world forgot she existed. No rival could reach her there. No enemy could make her cough smoke. No wounded coward like Kieran could slither through a back door and spit black-red fire at what was mine. Mine. The word rose with teeth. Then Belinda's eyes narrowed and the word began to taste like ash. Around us, humans stared. Derek stood near the oven, soot on his shirt, one arm braced in front of Cindy and Melon as if his mortal body could stop dragon flame. Cindy had blood in her hair despite my healing. Melon shook so badly the wet towel trembled in his hands, and Belinda stood between them and me. Not behind me, between. "You will come to the eyrie," I said. Her chin lifted. "I didn't say I wouldn't. You will remain there." "No." White fire pressed against my teeth. "Belinda, don't do that." "Do what?" "Say my name like it's a leash." Something in the bakery went very still. My claws had not fully withdrawn. I felt them against my palms, sharp and eager. I could smell fear, and not only from her people, from mine. The dragon guards at the shattered front shifted their weight, careful not to draw my attention. They had seen me kill for less than this. They expected me to command, to punish, to remind the human woman that a dragon lord did not negotiate in smoke and broken glass. Belinda stepped closer instead of back. "You keep saying protect like it means own," she said. "Those are not the same thing." The word struck harder than Kieran's fire. For a moment I heard nothing else. Not the sirens blocks away, not the crackle of burned wood, not the low groan of damaged steel above us. Protect like it means own. In my world it did. A horde protected was a horde possessed. A throne protected was a throne held. A queen protected was a queen contained, guarded, watched, and defended until death found easier prey. But Belinda was not gold beneath a mountain. She was not a treaty. She was a woman with dark skin streaked in soot, a bakery half burned around her, and a hand that shook only after the danger had passed. I wanted to wrap that shaking hand in mine. I wanted to put my mouth on her pulse and feel life beat there because I had almost arrived too late. I wanted to tear off her smoke-stained clothes and prove with my tongue, fingers, and cock that she was alive. Filthy thoughts, honest ones. But wanting did not make taking holy. I forced my claws back into my skin. The pain cleared my head. "What does protection mean to you?" I asked. Her expression changed, not softened. Belinda did not soften easily when angry. But she blinked, as if I had opened a door she expected me to burn down. "It means guards who don't scare my customers," she said. "It means my people get choices. Cindy, Melon, Derek, nobody is dragged to your mountain because you're in a mood." "My mood is not the threat." "No, your enemies are, but your mood has a bigger body count." Derek coughed. I looked at him. He immediately became interested in the floor. Belinda continued, "It means repairs start tonight, not next week, not after some dragon council decides if my little human business is worth saving. Tonight. Done. And I'm not paying for damage caused by dragon bullshit. Done. And no strings." I nearly smiled. "You distrust gifts now?" "I distrust expensive men with wings. I do not have wings in this form." "That is not the point, Malrik." "No, it was not." I inclined my head once. "No strings." The ring on her finger warmed, gold light moving over her knuckles. The cursed thing approved again. I gave it a look. Belinda saw and almost smiled. "Don't glare at the ring because it has sense. It is disobedient." Sounds familiar. Moses arrived with healers and fire cleansers. Julius followed, dressed too finely for a burned bakery, face grim as he took in the damage. I issued orders until the street outside filled with dragons, workers, and wardsmiths. Fireproof glass, stone reinforcement, new counters, gold transferred quietly to cover every lost hour of business. Belinda listened to each order like she expected to find a trap in the grammar. Very good. Let her inspect me. Let her test every word. I had failed enough by assuming she should simply trust my power. When we returned to the Eyrie, she refused a bed in the healing rooms and sat on the examination table like she owned the place. Her arm was burned where the ring had pulled too much from her. The sight made my fire go cold. May I touch you? I asked. Her gaze flicked up. For healing? Yes. If this turns into dragon nonsense, I still have the dagger. I know. She offered me her hand. Trust, small as an ember. I held it carefully. Her skin was warm. Her pulse jumped beneath my fingers. The scent of smoke clung to her, but under it was sugar, sweat, woman. My dick hardened with brutal disloyalty. I hated myself for it. She had nearly died. I wanted to worship every inch of her because she had survived. My thumb brushed the inside of her wrist as gold fire answered white. She inhaled sharply. Does it hurt? I asked. A little. I can stop. She watched me. Don't. The word went through me like a blade heated in flame. Do not imagine her saying that in your bed, I ordered myself. My mind disobeyed. I saw her beneath me, braids spread across black sheets, thighs open around my hips, mouth slick from my kisses. I imagined her hand in my hair, her voice rough, telling me not to stop while my cock drove deep enough to ruin both our composure. I released her hand the moment the burn healed. Belinda looked at me. You're doing that staring thing again. I am restraining several instincts. Put them on a leash. I am trying. Her mouth twitched. That almost smile nearly undid me more than her anger. Tonight, I said, you will start sleeping in my room. With me. The almost smile vanished. Excuse me. My chambers are the most heavily warded in the Eyrie. The inner doors answer only to my blood and fire. That sounds like a fancy prison. It has windows. Malrik, I exhaled through my nose. It is not a command. Then say it better. I ground my teeth. Dragons did not beg in healing rooms. Apparently I did. Sleep in my room tonight, I said. Please. Her brows lifted. Why? Because I will be more at ease with you in my sight. She studied me for a long moment. And there are no other intentions? There were, 1,000. I wanted her in my bed. I wanted her laugh in my dark. I wanted her sleepy and warm beside me at dawn. I wanted my mouth between her thighs and my name in her throat. I wanted my scent on her skin so every dragon in the world knew approaching her meant death. But I had promised, so I gave her the truth and the restraint. Only if you want it to be, I said. Otherwise, no. Belinda's eyes dropped to my mouth, then lower as if she knew exactly what my body was thinking. My dick had no shame, neither did she. That is almost a decent answer, she said. Fine, I'll sleep in your room because assassins keep finding me, not because you ordered me. Agreed. I want my own blanket. Done. A lock on the bathroom. Done. And if your dick gets any ideas, tell it I own a dragon steel dagger now. My cock, treacherous beast, remained interested. I will inform it, I said. This time she did smile, small, tired, devastating. Later in my chambers, she stood at the threshold and looked at the carved black bed, the white fire hearth, the weapons mounted along one wall. Of course your bedroom looks like a war room had sex with a castle, she said. It is comfortable. It looks like people confess crimes in here. Some have. She turned slowly toward me. Do I want to know? No. Great. I ordered servants to bring a wide cushioned lounge near the hearth. Belinda watched them pile it with blankets, then claimed it with the stubborn dignity of a queen claiming land after battle. I remained near the door, giving her space. The distance felt like punishment. It also felt necessary. A knock came before either of us could speak again. Julius entered with a scroll in hand and irritation in every line of his face. "My lord," he said, "the council has confirmed tomorrow night's formal clan dinner." Belinda groaned from the lounge. "Of course they have." Julius glanced at her. "All major houses will attend, including Ember House." Sheba. My fire stirred. Belinda sat up, blankets gathered around her shoulders. "Tell me something, Julius. Does dragon dinner require me to bring a casserole or a weapon?" Julius looked at me. I looked at Belinda. "Both," I said. Her eyes narrowed. "I hate that you're serious." Outside my windows, the eyrie shifted under moonlight and distant wings. Inside my room, Belinda held her dagger closer.
Dragon dinner, I quickly learned, was not dinner. Dinner was food, chairs, maybe one auntie asking why you were still single. This was political warfare with roasted meat. Malrik's formal dining hall was carved into the side of the mountain, all black stone, gold veins, and open fire pits burning without smoke. Long tables curved around the room like claws. Every clan had its place. Every chair apparently meant something. Every cup looked expensive enough to pay my bakery rent for 6 months. I walked in beside Malrik with a dagger strapped to my thigh and my stomach trying to exit my body. Sheba was already there. Of course she was. She stood near Malrik's chair, like she had grown from the shadow of it, dressed in deep red silk, her dark skin glowing under the firelight, gold rings stacked on every finger. People leaned toward her when she spoke. Lords greeted her first. Ladies touched her arm like they were receiving blessings. This was not some jealous woman throwing a tantrum. This was power in a dress. And she wanted me gone. Malrik's hand hovered near my lower back, not touching until I gave him a look. He dropped it. Progress. Small, cranky progress. Julius appeared at my side and murmured, "Do not accept blood from anyone. Do not swear on flame. If someone asks to see your ring, do not remove it." I stared at him. Was I going to do any of that? "You are human. I prepare for disaster." Comforting. Malrik pulled out my chair. The entire hall watched. I sat because my knees had no business being dramatic in public. The first course arrived. It was meat. I mean, technically. It was a whole roasted animal with too many legs and a face I wished had been removed before presentation. Beside it sat smaller plates of raw red slices arranged like flower petals. An elderly dragon woman pushed one toward me. For strength. I looked at the raw meat, then at her. "Thank you, but if I eat that, the strength I gain will mostly be food poisoning." A few dragons stared. Derek, sitting farther down with Cindy and Melon under heavy guard, coughed into his napkin. Malrik's mouth twitched. The questions began with the second course. "How large is your hoard?" asked a copperwing elder with blue-black scales at his temples. I wiped my mouth. "Currently, 3 unpaid invoices and a stand mixer." Silence. Then one dragon laughed. Then another. Sheba did not. Her smile stayed sharp enough to cut fruit. "And your bloodline?" another asked. "What great house claims you?" "My mother's people are from Georgia," I said. "My daddy's side will fight you over spades and potato salad. Does that count?" More laughter. Malrik leaned back in his chair, gold eyes fixed on me with something I did not want to name. Pride, maybe. Possession, definitely. Hunger, unfortunately. A broad dragon lord with smoke-colored eyes pushed a ceremonial dagger across the table. "A bride should have steel for the oath nights." "I already have one," I said. "Have another." "Do y'all show affection with weapons often?" "Yes," Malrik said. I took the dagger. "Good to know." Then the tone shifted. It happened so smoothly, I almost missed it. The laughter faded. Cups lowered. Questions sharpened. Do you understand dragon duty? Can you bear clan scrutiny? Will you abandon your mortal shop? Can a woman who needs bread stand beside a lord who burns armies? I answered the best I could. No, I did not understand all their duties yet. Yes, I could learn. No, I was not abandoning sweet mercy, and bread, for the record, required patience, heat, timing, and strength. Armies were probably easier because nobody cried if a battlefield didn't rise. That got another laugh. Sheba's eyes narrowed. Then an ash veil lord leaned toward me. His smile was too friendly. His teeth were too sharp. One more question, little queen. I hated that nickname immediately. Can you manage a dragon's heat? My fork paused. What do you mean? He leaned closer, voice dropping into a whisper meant only for me and the fear under my ribs. I mean Lord Malrik's dick. My fingers tightened around the fork. The Lord's smile widened. You are human. Soft. Breakable. His dick carries the same fire that comes from him. It burns. It will burn you from the inside. Human wives have died trying to take less than him. My appetite packed a bag and left the country. Across the table, Sheba watched me with her perfect little smile. Not shocked, not offended, waiting. She wanted me afraid. The ring warmed on my finger. I put the fork down slowly. Wow. The Ashvale Lord blinked. Wow. I've had bank managers scare me better than that. His smile faltered. I leaned back in my chair even though my heart was sprinting. But thank you for your concern about my sex life. It's weird as hell, but noted. This time, the laughter was louder. Malrik turned his head sharply, catching the end of it. What was said? Dinner conversation, I said. His eyes moved to Ash Vale. The Lord suddenly found his wine fascinating. Malrik's expression went cold. I touched his sleeve under the table. Just 2 fingers. He stilled. Not here, I murmured. His gaze dropped to my hand. Then he breathed once and let the room live. For now. By the time dinner ended, I was exhausted, angry, and 90% sure dragons used etiquette as a murder weapon. Sheba passed me near the archway, close enough that her perfume touched my throat. You handled yourself better than expected, she said. That almost sounded like compliment. It was not. Good. I was worried. Her gaze flicked to Malrik behind me. You are amusing now. Court likes amusement. It tires of it quickly. Then she was gone, gathered into a circle of lords like a flame taking its own air. I watched her go. She has influence, I said. Malrik stood beside me. Yes. You should have mentioned she basically owns half the room. I thought it obvious. I looked at him. He sighed. I am learning that word causes trouble. Fast learner. We returned to his chambers in silence. Not peaceful silence, the kind with teeth in it. The second the door closed, I turned around. Does your dick burn? Malrik froze. He actually froze. His face went blank in a way I'd never seen before. What? Your dick, I said, because if I had to be traumatized at dinner, he had to suffer with me. Does it burn? He stared at me. Then he laughed. Not a little sound. Not that almost smile he kept rationing like joy cost taxes. He laughed for real. Deep, rough, beautiful. It rolled out of his chest and filled the room, and for one stupid second I forgot I was mad because he looked cute and hot and entirely too pleased with himself. Then I remembered the part where I'd been scared to death. It is not funny, I snapped. He tried to stop laughing. Failed once. Then dragged a hand over his mouth, eyes still bright. Who told you this? Some smoky old bastard at dinner asked if I could manage your heat, then whispered that because I'm human, I couldn't manage your dick because it burns like your fire and it would burn me to death. Malrik's amusement vanished. Name? No. Belinda? No, I am not giving you a dinner homicide as a nightcap. His jaw flexed. I pointed at him. Answer the question. He moved toward me. I moved back. Not because I wanted to escape exactly, because the room suddenly felt smaller, and he looked too large in it. "Why are you afraid?" he asked. "I just told you why." "You asked because you believed there may be a reason to know." My back touched the wall. He stopped in front of me, one hand braced beside my head, not trapping me exactly, but making a hot cage out of his body. My breathing changed. "Traitor." His gold eyes lowered to my mouth. "Do you have any hope of us fucking, Belinda?" Heat rushed through my face so fast I almost forgot English. I cleared my throat. "That is a very aggressive follow-up question." "It is an honest one." My fingers curled against the wall. "Maybe I wanted information." "Maybe." His voice dropped. "They did not completely lie. Dragon bodies run hotter. Arousal makes it worse. Fire answers blood, breath, hunger. With me, because of what I am, the heat can be intense." My throat went dry. "But it does not kill," he said. "Not if the dragon has control. Not if he cares whether the woman beneath him is pleasure-drunk or in pain." I swallowed. "And you have control?" His eyes burned brighter. "Yes." "Always?" "No." My heart kicked. His hand lifted slow enough for me to refuse, and his knuckles brushed the wall beside my shoulder instead of my skin. "But with you, I would." His voice roughened. "I would prepare you. Slowly. With my mouth. My hands. Heat in stages. I would teach your body to trust mine before I ever put my dick inside you." The air left me. He leaned closer, not touching. "I would keep my fire banked. I would listen when you breathed differently. I would stop if you said stop. And if I ever burned you without your wanting that heat, I would consider it a failure worthy of blood." My knees had become unreliable. He knew it too. The bastard. "Would you like me to take you through the experience?" he asked. "Only as far as you choose." My brain offered several answers. Most of them were just profanity. I ducked beneath his arm. "Freedom." I took 2 steps away, breathing hard, proud of myself for escaping his hot cage. Then I stopped, turned, and kissed him. Hard. Malrik went still for half a second. Then his restraint cracked just enough to make the room dangerous. His mouth took mine deep and hot, one hand sliding to my waist, the other catching the back of my neck like he had been starving, and I had finally stepped close enough to eat. He did not force me still. He held me like he was asking and claiming at the same time. I kissed him back. God help me, I kissed him back like I had wanted it since the flowers. His tongue brushed mine, and heat spilled through me, dark and sweet and terrifying. I wanted him. I wanted the experience. I wanted to know what that fire felt like when it was not trying to kill me. I was scared. But I was also his wife. By accident, yes. By dragon law. Unfortunately. Still, making out with your husband was not a crime. It was probably stupid, but not a crime. Malrik turned us, his body pressing closer, and the hard ridge of his dick pushed against my stomach. Rock hard. Very real. Very much not theoretical. I pulled away with a gasp. He let me go instantly. My lips tingled. My heart slammed against my ribs. His eyes were molten, his breathing rough, but his hands opened at his sides like he was proving he could keep them there. I turned away before I did something reckless. "I will sleep in Cindy's room tonight." His silence followed me, then low and strained. "As you choose." I did not look back. If I looked back, I was doomed. I walked down the corridor with my mouth swollen, my body humming, and my common sense dragging itself behind me in pieces. Cindy was already in bed when I entered her room. She lifted her head. "Girl?" "No questions," I said. Then I climbed under the covers fully dressed and stared at the ceiling while my ring glowed softly in the dark. Cindy honored my no questions request for exactly 7 hours, which honestly was generous. I woke up in her guest bed fully dressed, stiff-necked, mouth still tender, and body still acting like Malrik had left fingerprints under my skin. He had not. That was the problem. He had kissed me, held back, let me leave, and somehow that made everything worse. By dawn, my pants were uncomfortable in a way that made me freeze under the blanket. I shifted once, then stopped. Oh, that was embarrassing. My panties were soaked. From a kiss. From his hand at my waist. From the memory of his voice saying he would prepare me slowly. From the rock-hard bulge of his dick pressing against my stomach like a threat and a promise. I stared at Cindy's ceiling. Belinda, I whispered to myself, you are a grown woman. Get your life together. My body did not care. My body was a traitor with no respect for political danger. I slipped out of bed before Cindy woke, grabbed a clean towel from the chair, and went straight to the bathroom. The shower was cold enough to insult my ancestors. This is good. I needed insult. I stood under the freezing water with my hands braced against the tile, eyes closed, trying not to remember Malrik's mouth. It did not work. The cold water hit my breasts, my belly, the sensitive ache between my thighs, and all I could think was that dragon heat had sounded terrifying until Malrik explained it with that low voice and those gold eyes and that ridiculous self-control. I would prepare you. I groaned and pressed my forehead to the tile. Shut up, memory. By the time I got dressed, I had made 3 decisions. 1, I was not looking Malrik in the eye. 2, I was not being alone with Malrik. 3, if anyone mentioned his dick, dragon heat, or the word prepare, I was walking directly into the mountain. Cindy was awake when I came out. She sat up slowly, hair wrapped, eyes sharp. No questions? No questions. She looked me up and down. Girl. I said no questions. That was not a question. That was a diagnosis. I pointed at her. You are injured. Rest. I have a tiny cut on my head, not a coma. Rest emotionally. She smiled like she knew too much. Did Lord Tall, Dark, and Fire Hazard finally kiss you? I grabbed my boots. I am leaving. That means yes. It means I have bakery business. In his bedroom? Cindy. No questions, she said, lying down with both hands raised. But if you need to talk about Dragon Dick later, I am available. I walked out before my face melted off. Avoiding Malrik in his own area turned out to be harder than expected, because the man owned the mountain. Every hallway had guards. Every servant knew my name. Every doorway looked important. I tried to take a side corridor and ended up in a room full of swords. I tried another and found Moses supervising young dragons breathing controlled flame into stone bowls. He looked at me. I looked at him. Are you lost, my queen? No, I'm exploring with panic. His mouth twitched. Lord Malrik is in the East Hall. Then I am definitely not going that way. Moses said nothing, which was worse than judgment. I made it to breakfast by using melon as a shield. He did not know he was a shield, but he had a tray of sweet rolls, and I stayed behind him like a coward with standards. Derek sat at the table, one arm bandaged from a scrape, eating like dragon assassins were just another Tuesday. You look jumpy. I slept badly. You slept in Cindy's room. Exactly. He narrowed his eyes. Did something happen with the dragon? No. That No had a bra on backwards. Eat your roll. Before he could betray me further, Julius entered with a black scroll sealed in red wax. My stomach dropped. Nothing good came in black scrolls. Lady Belinda, he said, I already hate whatever that is. Understandable. He broke the seal. By council authority, witnessed by the major houses, the claimed bride of Lord Malrik shall prepare the oath cake for the formal marriage ceremony. I blinked. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because my last nerve had snapped and started doing comedy. I'm sorry, I said. They want me to bake my own wedding cake? Oath cake, Julius corrected. Oh, forgive me. They want me to cater my own magical dragon marriage that I accidentally entered because your lord paid for a cake with cursed pocket change? Melon whispered, technically antique pocket change. I pointed at him without looking. Not now. Julius continued carefully. It is tradition. Tradition can kiss my ass. A shadow filled the doorway. I did not look. I knew that heat. Malrik. My body knew too, a traitorous little disaster that it was. Every nerve in me sat up and started taking notes. Who ordered this? Malrik asked. His voice was calm. That meant someone was near death. Julius glanced at him. The council accepted a petition from Ember House. Sheba. Of course. I finally looked at Malrik by accident. Bad idea. He stood in black, hair loose around his shoulders, scale markings dark along his face, gold eyes fixed on me like he could smell every thought I wished he could not. Maybe he could. Dragons were rude like that. I looked back at Julius. So this is an insult. It is meant as one, Julius said. Malrik stepped forward. It will be refused. No, I said. He stopped. Everybody stopped. Even Derek paused mid-chew. I took the scroll from Julius and read the lines again. Bride. Prepare. Oath cake. Formal ceremony. Witnessed by all clans. Something shifted in my head. Wait. Julius, I said slowly, explain this to me like I'm not from Murder Lizard Society. He adjusted his cuffs. Food at an oath ceremony is not decorative. It is witness. Those who eat from the bride's hand acknowledge the union. Refusal is a public insult. Acceptance is public recognition. My anger cooled into something sharper. So, if I make this cake, they must eat it or declare opposition openly. And if they eat it, they recognize your place at Lord Malrik's side before the final oath. Sheba had tried to shove an apron on me. The stupid woman had handed me a weapon. I smiled. Derek leaned away from me. I know that smile. Cindy, entering late with a robe over her clothes, stopped at the door. That is the Sweet Mercy lawsuit smile. Malrik watched me with interest now. I set the scroll on the table. Fine, I'll make the cake. My queen, Malrik said. You do not have to... I know. I met his eyes for half a second, regretted it, and looked away. That's why I'm doing it. His gaze sharpened. Julius's mouth curved. You understand. Oh, I understand. I tapped the scroll. If they're going to make me queen, they're going to taste my work. Cindy sat down hard. Now that sounded expensive. It will be. I turned to Julius. I want a contract. Royal supplier terms. Sweet Mercy gets paid in modern money, not cursed marriage coins. Malrik's brows lowered. The coin was not cursed. It proposed without consent. It was cursed adjacent. Derek nodded solemnly. Cursed adjacent is valid. I continued. My workers get hazard pay. My bakery repairs continue. Fireproof glass, reinforced kitchen, dragon-safe ventilation. No council inspectors in my workspace unless I approve them. No raw meat near my mixers. No live ingredients. If anything screams, it is not going in my cake. Julius wrote quickly. Reasonable. Malrik looked offended. I would have granted all of this. I know, but now they will. His expression shifted. Pride again. Dangerous on him. Sexy too, unfortunately. I stood before my body could make more bad decisions. I need my bakery. It is not fully repaired, Malrik said. Then I need a kitchen. You may use the royal kitchens. I pictured dragon chefs handing me a bleeding animal and calling it flavor. No, Moses spoke from the doorway. There is an old hearth kitchen below the west terrace. Stone-lined. Good ventilation. Human-safe with adjustments. I pointed at him. See? Moses is useful. Malrik crossed his arms. I am useful. I did not look at his arms, or his mouth, or anywhere below his belt. You are stressful, I said. Different category. His eyes warmed. I fled before he could say something low and devastating. The West Terrace kitchen was perfect in the way abandoned places could be perfect if you had imagination and a death wish. Black stone counters, deep ovens built into the wall, copper bowls big enough to bathe in, windows opening over a drop that made my stomach reconsider gravity. I walked the room with Cindy and Melon behind me, already planning. 6 tiers, I said. No, 7. If dragons want drama, I'll give them drama. Cindy's eyes lit. Flavors? Dark chocolate, burnt honey, blood orange, spiced rum, smoked vanilla, brown sugar buttercream, edible gold leaf, and something with heat, but controlled. Moses nodded. Ember honey carries warmth without flame. Good, I want that. Also, dragon-safe sugar glass. Melon raised his hand. Can sugar glass be dragon-safe? We're about to find out. By afternoon, the first committee arrived. 3 dragons from Ember House, dressed like they had never touched flour and would sue it for contact. Sheba came with them. Naturally. She stepped into the kitchen and looked around as if the stone had offended her. How quaint. I was dusting a counter with flour. Careful. Compliments like that might make us friends. Her eyes slid to my apron. Queens do not usually smell of butter. Queens who eat do? One of her women sniffed. This ceremony requires dignity. Then stop talking in my kitchen. Cindy choked. Sheba's smile thinned. A cake will not make you queen. No, I said, but when every clan eats it, they'll remember my hands made something they wanted. For the first time, her expression cracked. Small. Beautiful. War had officially begun. By sunset, I had ingredient lists, oven tests, and 3 dragon elders arguing over whether cinnamon was too aggressive for oath work. I was elbow deep in batter when Malrik appeared at the kitchen entrance. Alone. Of course. I kept mixing. If you're here to loom, stand over there. You're blocking my emotional support exit. I am here to ask why you avoid me. The spoon hit the bowl too hard. I am busy. You were busy this morning behind Melon. Melon needed protection. From me? From vibes. He came closer. I did not run, mostly because I had batter on my hands and dignity to pretend. Do you regret kissing me? He asked. My throat tightened. No. His chest rose slowly. I stared at the batter. I regret running away like my panties weren't soaked and my brain hadn't fallen out. Silence. Then his voice dropped. Belinda. Nope. I lifted the spoon like a weapon. Do not say my name in that tone while I'm holding cake batter. A smile touched his mouth. Soft, wicked, patient. I will wait, he said. That was worse than him taking. That made my chest hurt. I looked away first. Good, because I have a war cake to build. From the corridor, Julius called, Lady Belinda? I stepped back, grateful for interruption. What? He appeared with another sealed message, expression grim. The council has approved your terms, he said, and named Sheba as one of the official witnesses to your preparation. The kitchen went quiet. Malrik's fire stirred hot enough to warm the room. I wiped my hands on my apron and smiled at the black seal. Fine, I said. Then she can watch me win.
Julius's point of view.
By the time Lady Belinda said, "Then she can watch me win," I had already begun counting the laws that could kill her. Humans often mistook danger for teeth, claws, and fire. Dragons knew better. The sharpest thing in any court was a well-written clause. I stood at the entrance of the West Terrace kitchen, with the council seal still warm between my fingers. Lady Belinda faced me in an apron dusted with flour, her dark forearms marked in sugar and work, chin lifted like she had been born arguing with old gods. Lord Malrik stood behind her, too close, too still. That was never a good sign. His fire had gone quiet under his skin, and the quiet fire in Malrik meant something was deciding whether to become a massacre. The council approved her terms, he said. They did. And then poisoned them. Politically, I said, yes. Belinda pointed a wooden spoon at me. If y'all start using the word politics to mean attempted murder again, I'm charging extra. I liked her. That was becoming inconvenient. She had entered our world by accident, survived attacks that should have broken her, insulted half the council, and somehow managed to turn a ceremonial insult into a supplier contract. There were dragon ladies bred for power who would have missed the move entirely. Belinda had seen the knife. Then she had asked if it could be used to cut cake. Malrik's gaze remained on me. Explain the danger. Not here. Belinda's eyes narrowed. If the danger concerns me, then here is a great place. It concerns you, I said. It also concerns the person who has been named witness. Sheba had left moments earlier, but her perfume remained in the room, floral and expensive, like a garden planted over bones. Belinda's mouth tightened. She can hear through walls? Some Ember House women can hear through servants. Cindy, standing near a sack of sugar, slowly looked at the walls. Melon whispered, "Should we whisper too?" "No," Belinda said. "Whispering makes things creepier." Malrik did not move. "Go." It was not a request. I inclined my head and left, before his temper remembered how fast it could cross a room. The law vaults beneath the eyrie were older than Malrik's throne, older than most clans. Stone shelves held dragonhide ledgers, gold leaf treaties, oath bones, ash records, and blood-sealed petitions that could still scream if opened incorrectly. I had always found the place comforting. Others found it morbid. Others were usually guilty of poor scholarship. The council petition lay on my table, black parchment, red wax, Ember House seal stamped cleanly on top. Too cleanly. That was the first insult. Sheba had power, beauty, ancestry, and ambition enough to choke a throne. She did not make mistakes with wax. If a seal looked too perfect, something had been hidden beneath it. I took my seal knife from the drawer. Dragon Law did not trust ink. Ink lied. Fire remembered. The blade slid under the wax with a soft crack. The ember mark split open. Under it, a second flame woke, black-red. My jaw tightened. Red throat. Kieran. So, the scarred bastard had not only survived Malrik's white fire and the failed attack on Sweet Mercy. He had crawled into Sheba's shadow and put his burned hand on petition. Stupid, I murmured. Not because the alliance was weak. Because it was clever. Sheba had standing with the council. Kieran had soldiers desperate enough to die loudly. Together they could do what neither could do alone. Make Belinda's death look like procedure. I read the petition again, slower this time. Right of hand and hearth. Old law. Dangerous law. The bride who prepared oath food gave the court more than cake. She gave proof of steadiness, skill, restraint, and household power. Every clan that ate from her hand acknowledged her place. But the witness held power too. A witness could inspect the ingredients, challenge the flame, question the bride's worth, declare contamination, delay the oath. And if the bride was declared unworthy before the final vow, the court could demand a trial. My fingers stopped on the last line. There it was, buried under ceremony and dressed in pretty words. Trial by white fire. I sat back. For several seconds, the vault seemed quieter than stone should be. White fire was Malrik's. Rare, devouring. Not merely heat, but judgment. It burned through false shields, weak bindings, and old lies. No human should be asked to stand before it. except Belinda had already been touched by it. The ring had protected her. Not once. More than once. I opened another ledger, one I had not touched in 80 years. Claim rings were not complicated in theory. A lord offered true hoard gold. If accepted, it marked the bride as claimed. Until final oath, the ring should remain mostly dormant, defensive only by the husband's will. Belinda's ring had ignored that rule. It shielded her before Malrik arrived. It answered her fear. It warmed when she made choices. It acted less like a leash and more like a blade in her hand. That was not normal. Normal would have been easier. Normal rarely survived Belinda. I carried the ledger and petition back toward the West Terrace kitchen. By then, the room had become organized chaos. Cindy was measuring flour like war depended on it. Melon was labeling jars with a seriousness usually reserved for treaties. Moses stood near the hearth, discussing controlled ember honey with Belinda as if the sweetness might revolt. Malrik stood at the far wall, pretending not to watch her every breath. He fooled no one. Sheba had returned. Of course she had. She stood near the doorway with two ember women and the serene expression of someone waiting for a body to drop. "Lady Belinda," I said, "I need to examine your ring." Belinda looked up from a bowl of batter. "Why?" "Because it may be the only honest thing in this room." Her gaze moved immediately to Sheba. "So it's surrounded," she said. Sheba smiled. "A queen should not fear examination." "I don't fear it." Belinda wiped her hand on a cloth and lifted her fingers. The gold ring caught the kitchen light. "I just don't like people touching my stuff." "I will not touch it," I said. Malrik pushed off the wall. "What are you testing?" "Whether the ring obeys you." The room stilled. Belinda's brows lifted. "Excuse me?" "It should," I said, "by law." Her expression cooled. "That sounds like a law written by men who needed supervision." Cindy muttered, "Amen." I held up a thin loop of silver fire thread and spoke the formal words. "By true hoard gold, by Lord's flame, by claimant's right, answer the sovereign who gave you." The ring went hot, not white. Gold, deep, living gold. The fire thread snapped in my hand. Pain bit across my fingers, sharp enough to make me hiss. Malrik moved instantly. "Julius." I lifted my other hand to stop him. The ring did not attack again. It settled against Belinda's finger, glowing like a satisfied cat. Belinda stared at it. "Did my jewelry just cuss you out?" "In legal terms," I said, flexing my burned fingers. "Yes." She looked down at the ring. "Good girl." The gold pulsed once. Sheba's smile disappeared. There, that was worth the burn. I closed my hand and met Malrik's eyes. "It does not merely obey you." His face changed. Not anger, not surprise, something older. Possession trying to become reverence. I continued carefully. "It recognizes her." Belinda swallowed. "Recognizes me as what?" I did not answer in front of Sheba. Some truths were shields only if kept covered until the right moment. Instead, I bowed slightly. "As more than a mistake," Sheba's voice cut in. "Sentiment is not law." "No," I said, "but law enjoys evidence." Her eyes flicked to my burned fingers. She understood. Good. Let her worry. Later, in Malrik's private war room, I placed the split seal and old ledger on the table. "Kieran is tied to the petition," I said. Malrik's fire rose so fast, the candles guttered backward. "Where is he?" "Not here. Not yet." "If he comes near her, that is what they want." I pushed the ledger toward him. Sheba will use her witness right to challenge the oath cake. If she can claim contamination, weakness, or deception, she can force a trial before the court. Malrik read the marked line. The temperature in the room changed. White fire, he said. Yes. His hands curled into fists. They would make me burn my own wife. They would make you choose between refusing court law or subjecting her to it. If you refuse, they call your claim false. If she fails, she dies. If you lose control, they call you unfit. Silence. Then Malrik said, very softly, "And if she survives?" I thought of the ring burning my hand for speaking ownership over it. "If she survives," I said, "the court will have to kneel." Outside the war room, a bell sounded from the West Terrace kitchen. One clear note, then another. A servant rushed in, breathless. "My lord, Lord Julius, the official witness has begun inspection." Malrik was already moving. I gathered the petition, the split seal, and the law that had been sharpened against Belinda's throat. Sheba was not coming to watch a cake. She was coming to light the oven.
The bell rang once, then twice. Every spoon in the West Terrace kitchen stopped moving. Sheba stood in the doorway like she had been carved there out of spite and red silk. 2 Ember House women flanked her, both holding black tablets and wearing expressions that said they had never eaten anything with joy in their lives. "By witness right," Sheba said, "I begin inspection." Cindy leaned close to me. "Bitch brought witnesses to witness her witnessing." "Accurate," I muttered. Sheba's eyes flicked to us. "The oath cake must be pure." "It's cake," I said, "not a virgin sacrifice." One of her women gasped. I smiled. "First time in a kitchen?" Sheba moved through my workspace, touching nothing. Which was good, because if she put one jeweled finger in my sugar, I was going to make dragon history for all the wrong reasons. She inspected flour, butter, ember honey, blood orange peel, vanilla, rum, and 3 kinds of sugar, like each ingredient might confess under pressure. "Human hands prepared these?" she asked. "My hands," I said. "Cindy's. Melons." Derek lifted a sack of flour and complained for 10 minutes, so spiritually his too. "Low mortal labor does not belong in oath food." "My contract says my staff belongs wherever I say they belong." Her smile sharpened. "You hide behind paper." "No, I use paper. Very different. Hiding is what people do when they don't want their plans seen." For one breath, her face changed. There, a crack. Small, but I saw it. Then she lifted a thin silver hook from her sleeve and reached toward my ring. I snatched my hand back. "Try that again and you'll pull back fewer fingers." The kitchen went silent. Sheba's gaze lowered to my hand. A queen should not fear examination. A queen should not let jealous women touch her jewelry. Heat rolled into the room. Malrik. He entered with Julius behind him, and the whole kitchen seemed to shrink around his shoulders. "What is this?" he asked. Sheba bowed just enough to insult him politely. "Inspection, my lord. Your bride refuses lawful witness." "She refused your hand," Julius said, "not the law." Sheba turned to the gathered elders now filling the corridor behind her. Of course she had brought an audience. Dragons loved nothing more than making attempted murder ceremonial. "If the ring rejects witness, if the bride hides behind mortal servants, if the oath cake cannot be trusted," Sheba said, voice carrying, "then let the claim be proven by old right." Julius went still. Malrik's fire pressed against the air. My stomach sank. "What old right?" Sheba looked at me and smiled. "Trial by white fire." The words hit the room like a blade through cloth. Cindy whispered, "Absolutely the fuck not." Malrik's voice dropped so low the stones seemed to listen. "No." Sheba did not even look at him. "Refusal will stand as confession that the bride is unworthy and the ring false." I looked at Julius. He did not soften it for me. Old law permits the challenge before the final oath. So what? I asked. He burns me and we see if I die? Nobody answered fast enough. Oh, hell no, Derek said from behind the guards. Malrik stepped in front of me. This ends now. And there was the trap. I saw it so clearly it made me angry. If Malrik refused, Sheba won the story. If he killed her for asking, she became a martyr with perfect hair. If I ran, every clan in this mountain would whisper that the Baker Queen broke before the fire ever touched her. I hated dragons. I hated politics. I really hated that my stupid ring warmed like it already knew what I was about to say. I'll do it. Malrik turned on me. Belinda! No. I pointed at him. Do not growl my name like that. I am thinking. You are volunteering to stand in my fire. I am volunteering to stop her from writing my ending. His jaw flexed. I looked at Moses, who had appeared near the hearth, quiet and serious. Rules. His dark eyes held mine. White fire seeks weakness in bindings. Lies. False claims. It burns what does not belong. Great. Love that. What do I do? Do not run. Do not turn your back. Breathe low. Give your shield a steady hand. My shield being this dramatic ring? Yes. The ring pulsed once. I swallowed. Fine. Malrik looked like something inside him was tearing itself apart. I will not burn you. I stepped closer, voice low enough for only him. You told me your heat doesn't kill if you control it. His eyes flashed. I was talking about my body, he said. Yes, well, right now I need the bigger demonstration. A muscle jumped in his cheek. And if you kill me, I added, because fear was crawling up my spine, and humor was the only weapon I had left. I am haunting your dick first. For one insane second, his mouth twitched. Then his face turned to iron. You will not die. Good. I have cake in the oven. They took us to the lower furnace arena, the same place Moses had taught me that dragonfire had rules. It looked different, full of nobles. The clans filled the stone seats, jewels glittering, wings folded tight, eyes hungry for proof or blood. Probably both. The furnace vents burned blue along the walls, and the floor had been marked with a circle of white ash. Moses walked the edge of it, checking every line. Julius stood beside the council, an old ledger open in his hands. His burned fingers were bandaged. Sheba stood where everyone could see her. Of course. Cindy grabbed my hand before I stepped into the circle. Belinda. I know. No, listen. You come back out. I squeezed her fingers. I plan to. Who else is going to make sure these overgrown lizards don't put raw meat on dessert? Her eyes shined, but she nodded. Derek said, Cousin, I love you, but this family is getting weird. It was weird before. This is just expensive weird. Then I stepped into the circle. The stone was warm under my shoes. Malrik entered across from me. He looked less like a man there. Bigger somehow. Older. His scale markings burned bright gold along his face and throat. White light gathered behind his teeth when he breathed. My knees considered quitting. I locked them. Moses's voice rang out. 1 cast. 3 heartbeats. No strike beyond the circle. Sheba's eyes narrowed. She had wanted more. Good. Julius read the law. I barely heard it. All I could hear was my own heart and Malrik's breathing. He looked at me, and all the court disappeared for a second. Do you choose this? He asked. No royal command. No dragon arrogance. Just a man asking the woman he had accidentally married if she was still willing to trust him with something deadly. My throat tightened. I choose me, I said. And right now, me is choosing us. His fire flared. The first breath of white flame left him. It was not like regular fire. The regular fire was orange and red and greedy. This was beautiful, like a blade held to your throat. White, bright, silent at first, then roaring so loud my bones felt it. Panic punched through me. The ring heated but no shield came. My breath hitched. The flame rushed closer. Moses's voice snapped through my memory. Do not run. Do not turn your back. Breathe low. Give it a shape. I planted my feet. This was heat. I knew heat. Heat baked bread. Heat ruined sugar. Heat turned batter into structure. Heat was not the enemy if you respected it and watched the timing. I lifted my hand. Come on, I whispered to the ring. Don't act shy now. Gold burst from my finger. The shield opened in front of me, round and bright, snapping into place just as white fire crashed against it. The force drove me back a step. My arms screamed. The air vanished from my lungs. The shield bowed inward, white flame licking around the edges. My apron smoked. Sweat slid down my spine. The ends of my braids lifted in the heat. 1 heartbeat. My fear clawed at me. 2. The shield trembled. I thought of Sheba smiling over my ashes. Absolutely not. I gritted my teeth and pushed my hand forward. Not today. The ring answered. Gold fire surged through the shield, not fighting Malrik's flame, but holding it, shaping it, letting it pass around me instead of through me. 3. The white fire died. Silence slammed down. I was still standing. Barely. For a second nobody moved. Then one dragon knelt. Then another. Then a whole section of the court lowered to one knee like a wave breaking over stone. She lives, Moses said, voice rough with awe. Julius closed the ledger. The claim stands proven under old law. Sheba's face twisted before she caught it. He softened the flame, she snapped. Moses turned his head slowly. If Lord Malrik had softened that fire, the furnace stones would not be weeping glass. I looked down. The stone around me had melted in thin silver streams. Oh, that was going to hit me later. Malrik crossed the circle so fast the ash scattered. He stopped inches from me, hands open, shaking with restraint. May I? He asked. My chest hurt. Yes, I whispered. Before I fall and embarrass myself. He caught me against him. His body was hot, solid, familiar in a way that scared me more than the fire had. I pressed my face briefly against his chest and let myself breathe. You are hurt? He demanded. My nerves are fried, my arm hates me, and your fire is rude as hell. His hand cradled the back of my head. No burns. I looked up at him. Your dick better be less dramatic than that. A strangled sound came from somewhere behind us. Might have been Derek. Might have been Julius. Malrik's eyes burned down at me, but the corner of his mouth curved. When you are ready, I will be very gentle. My body, traitor that it was, heard that and forgot we were in public. Not the time, I muttered. Agreed. But his hand stayed at my waist. Across the arena, the last threads of white fire crawled over Sheba's witness seal. For 1 second, black-red sparks spat from her bracelet. I saw it. So did Julius. Sheba snatched her sleeve down. Julius's voice cut through the murmuring court. Ember House does not burn black-red. The arena went cold in a way fire could not fix. Sheba lifted her chin. Careful, scholar. Malrik turned his head toward her, slowly, deadly. What did you bring into my house? He asked. Before she answered, a horn screamed from the outer gates. Then another. A guard burst into the arena, bleeding from the shoulder. My lord, he gasped. Red Throat has breached the lower wall.
Red Throat has breached the lower wall. For one breath, Malrik heard nothing after that. Not the court shouting, not the furnace vents screaming, not Sheba's quick inhale, only Belinda's heartbeat against his chest. Alive, fast, his. She had stood in his white fire and lived. The stone around her had melted, the court had knelt, and now Red Throat had come crawling through his mountain like rot through bone. Malrik looked at the bleeding guard. Where? South Furnace Stair, The guard gasped. They came through the old vents, black-red flame. We lost the first gate. Kieran. The name moved through Malrik's blood like a blade. Belinda shifted against him. Put me down. No. Malrik. No. She lifted her face, eyes sharp despite the sweat on her skin and the tremor in her body. I just survived your dramatic murder fire. Do not ruin the moment by acting stupid. A terrible part of him wanted to laugh. A greater part wanted to lock her under the mountain and burn every corridor until nothing remained but ash and apology. Moses stepped closer. My lord. Malrik did not take his eyes from the arena doors. Shield her. Belinda opened her mouth. He looked down at her. Please. That stopped her. Good. He was learning which weapons worked on his wife. Her jaw tightened, but she allowed Moses and Cindy to draw her back toward the inner wall. Derek came with them, blade in hand, face tight with fear and fury. Sheba moved, only half a step. Julius saw it too. Witness remains, Julius said, voice cutting through the chaos. Sheba's eyes flashed. I am no prisoner. Malrik turned his head. The court went quiet. No, he said. You are evidence. Her perfect mouth parted. Then the south wall exploded. Black-red fire tore through the lower arch, vomiting smoke, stone, and screaming guards into the arena. Nobles scattered. Wings flared. Someone fell burning. The old furnace stones cracked under the force of enemy flame. Malrik's body answered before thought. Scales broke through his skin, his bones lengthened, his nails became claws, heat roared up his spine, and the man shape of him split open enough for the dragon beneath to look out. He did not fully change. The arena would not survive it, neither would half the court, but his wings tore free in a storm of black and gold, his teeth sharpened, and white fire filled his throat until every red-throat soldier at the arch hesitated. They remembered him. Good. They should have remembered sooner. Malrik moved. The first enemy dragon came at him with a hooked blade. Malrik caught the weapon in one hand and the dragon's face in the other. Bone cracked under his grip. He drove the bastard into the stone floor hard enough to split it. The second breathed black-red flame. Malrik opened his mouth and answered with white. Enemy fire died like a lie exposed. The soldier behind it died louder. Screams rose, claws struck, steel rang. The arena became heat, blood, smoke, and judgment. Malrik tore through them, not cleanly, not mercifully. Mercy was a language for safe rooms and sleeping children. This was invasion. This was treason. This was Belinda's blood nearly spilled in his own house. He ripped a wing from one attacker and used the body to break another's charge. He burned 3 where they stood. He caught a red-throat captain by the throat and squeezed until the dragon's eyes burst gold. Somewhere behind him, Belinda shouted, "Behind the stone, get low, smoke rises, you hard-headed lizards." Even now, even exhausted, even after white fire had nearly swallowed her, she was ordering dragons how to survive. His fire surged hotter. Mine, the dragon in him snarled, not as ownership, as vow. Then Kieran stepped through the smoke. The left side of his face was ruined from Malrik's last fire, scales warped and blackened, one gold eye filmed with damage. His smile survived. That offended Malrik most. "My lord," Kieran rasped, "still hiding behind a baker?" Malrik took one step. The floor beneath his foot glowed. Kieran lifted his hand. A chain of black-red flame snapped across the arena, not at Malrik. At Belinda. Malrik turned with a roar. The ring answered first. Gold shield burst around her and the others, taking the strike, but she staggered. Her knees hit stone. Cindy grabbed her arm. Derek swung at a red-throat soldier climbing over the barrier. Malrik launched himself toward them. Kieran was faster than a wounded dragon had any right to be. He came through the smoke low, all claws and hate, and caught Belinda from behind as she rose. One blackened arm locked across her chest, the other claw pressed to her throat. A thin line of red appeared against her dark skin. The world ended. Malrik's fire gathered. The arena shook. Every instinct in him screamed one answer: burn him, burn through him, burn the hand touching her, burn the throat that spoke near her ear, burn the bones, the blood, the memory, burn until no one ever again wondered what happened to creatures who put claws on Malrik's queen. Kieran's ruined smile widened. Do it. Belinda's eyes found Malrik's through the smoke, not pleading, commanding. Don't, she said. His fire snarled behind his teeth. Kieran pressed the claw harder. More blood slid down her neck. Listen to her, Lord, or don't. I want to see if your claim ring can protect her from you. Malrik could do it. He could burn so fine the fire would peel Kieran away from her skin and leave only ash. He could also kill her. Even the chance was madness. Still, vengeance clawed at him. Sheba's voice cut from the side, cold and triumphant. This is what he is, Belinda. Look well. A beast with a throne. Malrik did not look at Sheba. Belinda did. Then she laughed. It was breathless, furious, and edged with pain. Girl, shut up. I am being held hostage. Nobody asked for commentary. Kieran jerked her tighter. Malrik's vision went white. Belinda looked back at him quickly. Malrik. His name in her mouth held him, not tamed, held. You burn him like that, she said, voice shaking but clear, and he chooses what you become. Kieran hissed. Quiet. She ignored him. Choose me, not him. The words struck deeper than any blade. Choose me. Not vengeance, not possession, not the old dragon law that said wanting meant taking and fear meant caging and love meant destroying anything too close. Her, breathing, bleeding, trusting him not to become the monster everyone expected. Malrik swallowed the white fire. It hurt. The flame wanted out. It tore at his ribs and throat, demanding release. He forced it down. Then he moved, not with fire, with control. His wings snapped wide, throwing ash and smoke into Kieran's damaged eye. At the same time, Malrik's tail lashed low and broke the stone under Kieran's footing. Belinda dropped her weight like she had been trained. Good girl. Good, clever wife. Kieran's claw slipped a fraction. Malrik was there. He seized Kieran's wrist and crushed it until the bones powdered under his fingers. Belinda tore free. Malrik caught her with his other arm and turned his body between her and the blade. Kieran lunged. Malrik drove his claws through Kieran's shoulder and pinned him to the arena wall. The sound Kieran made satisfied something ancient and ugly inside him. Malrik leaned close, white fire glowing between his teeth. You touched her. Kieran choked on blood. Then finish it. Malrik wanted to. Gods, he wanted to. Belinda's hand touched his arm. Small, warm, steady. Not like this, she said. Malrik's claws flexed inside Kieran's shoulder. The enemy dragon sobbed through his teeth. Malrik looked at Belinda. Blood marked her neck. Her braids were loosened. Her apron was scorched. She looked exhausted, furious, alive, and more royal than any dragon-born woman in the arena. He pulled his claws free. Kieran fell. Chain him, Malrik ordered. Red Throat soldiers still breathing were forced to the floor. Moses and the guards moved fast. Julius had Sheba surrounded by law wardens, her bracelet smoking black-red beneath her sleeve. She looked at Malrik with hatred sharpened by fear. You should have killed him, she said. Malrik lifted Belinda carefully into his arms. No, he said. You wanted a beast. His gaze moved over the court, over the kneeling dragons, the wounded, the traitors, the witnesses. Now you will face a king. Belinda's head rested against his shoulder for one brief second. Then she muttered, "A king who is going to get me a clean apron because I still have a cake to finish." A broken laugh moved through the arena. Malrik looked down at her. His dragon still raged, his hands still wanted blood. But he bent his head and pressed his mouth to her temple, gentle enough not to frighten even the pulse beneath her cut. "As my queen commands," he said. Julius approached, carrying the split petition and Sheba's smoking bracelet with iron tongs. "My lord," he said grimly, "the council must hear this before dawn." Belinda opened one eye. "Good. They can listen while I bake."
By the time they dragged Sheba into the West Terrace kitchen, I had washed Kieran's blood from my hands and decided buttercream was cheaper than therapy. The oath cake had not collapsed. That was either divine favor or my oven was scared of me. Steam curled from the cooling racks, while dragon guards packed the doorway shoulder to shoulder. Cindy stood beside me with a bowl tucked under one arm, like she might throw batter at the first person who annoyed her. Derek had a dragon steel blade he definitely did not know how to use properly. Melon was labeling jars with shaking hands because apparently trauma made her organize. Malrik stood behind me like a 6'8" murder cloud. Every time Sheba breathed, his fire answered. "Do not kill her in my kitchen," I said without looking back. His voice brushed my ear. "She brought war to your throat. And if you burn her on my tile, Grout is going to be a nightmare." Julius stepped in, carrying the black-red bracelet with iron tongs. His bandaged fingers looked worse than before, but his face had that calm lawyer expression people wore right before ruining somebody's whole bloodline. "The council will hear evidence now," he said. I looked at my cake. "Can treason wait 12 minutes? My glaze needs to set." One of the elders blinked. "The claim hearing is about my marriage ceremony," I said. "And this cake is part of that ceremony. So unless one of y'all wants to explain to dragon history why the queen served rushed frosting, hush." Silence. Cindy whispered, "That was hot." Malrik made a low sound behind me. I pointed my spatula at him. "Not you." His mouth curved, but his eyes stayed deadly on Sheba. They set her in the center of the kitchen with gold law chains around her wrists. She still looked expensive. Red silk, perfect hair, chin high, hatred shining bright enough to light a hallway. Kieran was dragged in next. His wrist hung wrong. His shoulder was wrapped in ash cloth, soaked through with blood. When his one good eye landed on me, the ring on my finger warmed. Malrik stepped forward. Kieran flinched. "Good." Julius opened the petition on the steel prep table. The witness petition submitted by Lady Sheba of Ember House carried a concealed red throat seal beneath her own. The right of hand and hearth was invoked to force Lady Belinda into trial before the final oath. During that trial, the witness's bracelet revealed black-red flame. Minutes later, red throat breached the lower wall. Sheba laughed softly. Convenient storytelling. Julius lifted the bracelet. Black-red sparks spat from it like angry insects. "That is not ember fire," Moses said from beside the hearth. His calm voice hit harder than shouting. "It is war binding." Murmurs moved through the gathered dragons. Sheba's smile slipped. I wiped glaze from my thumb. So she didn't just want me embarrassed. She wanted me dead. Sheba's eyes cut to me. I wanted what was mine. The kitchen went quiet enough to hear the cake settle. She looked at Malrik then, and for the first time something raw cracked through all that polished venom. "I stood beside your throne for years," she said. "I strengthened your alliances. I silenced houses that doubted you. I let them believe I would be queen because it made them obey." Malrik's face did not change. "I never promised you." "No," she snapped. "You only allowed the world to assume. And then you walked into some mortal bakery and gave your true hoard gold to her?" Her gaze dragged over me like I was flour on her dress. "She sells sugar." "Pound cake, too," I said. "And don't disrespect my cinnamon rolls." Sheba's lip curled. "You are nothing." The ring flashed. Gold light spilled over my hand, warm and furious. Malrik moved closer, but I lifted my fingers. I got this. The gold glow climbed around my knuckles like a living flame. I stepped toward Sheba. My neck still stung where Kieran's claw had cut me. My arm ached from holding the shield against white fire. My braids smelled like smoke. I was tired in places I did not have names for. But I was standing, and she hated that more than anything. You tried to make me ash, I said. You tried to use law, fire, men, old grudges, and bad paperwork, and I am still here. Her eyes burned. He will tire of you. Maybe, I shrugged. People get tired. That's why bakeries sell coffee. A strangled laugh came from Derek. I kept my eyes on her, but whether he loves me for a day or 1,000 years, you don't get to decide my worth. Malrik's fire shifted behind me. Not possessive this time. Proud. Julius faced the council. Under old law, Lady Sheba is guilty of false witness, unlawful alliance during marriage rite, and attempted destruction of a recognized claim. One elder asked, "Sentence?" Malrik's answer came instantly. White fire. The room shuddered. Sheba's breath caught. For 1 second, I wanted it too. I wanted her scared. I wanted her ruined. I wanted every dragon in that room to see what happened when somebody came for me and mine. That ugly want sat in my chest like hot metal. Then I thought of Kieran's claw at my throat. I thought of Malrik's fire waiting behind his teeth. Choose me, not him. I turned to Malrik. No. His eyes snapped to mine. She wanted death to be the story, I said quietly. Don't give her something dramatic enough for people to worship later. Sheba hissed, "Do not pretend mercy makes you strong." I looked back at her. This isn't mercy, I smiled. It's longevity. I want you alive long enough to watch me keep everything you tried to take. The council shifted. Julius bowed his head. There is precedent. Stripping of witness fire, confiscation of Ember House oath rights, imprisonment in the ash vault until tribunal. Malrik's jaw worked. He wanted blood. I could feel it in the heat coming off him. But he looked at me, and he chose. Done, he said. Sheba lunged forward, chains screaming tight. Human whore. Malrik's hand closed around the air. The chains snapped her to her knees so hard the floor cracked. His voice went soft, dead soft. You will address my wife as queen. No one corrected him. No one dared. They took Sheba away, screaming. I waited until the door shut before I turned back to the cake. My glaze is ruined. Cindy stared at me. Belinda. What? You just won a political death match. And now I have to fix the texture. Keep up. The formal oath happened at dawn. Not in the furnace arena. I refused. I'm not getting married somewhere I almost died, I told Julius. So they cleared the west terrace instead. Morning light spilled over the mountains. The air smelled like smoke, sugar, and rain. Dragon nobles filled the terrace in rows, quieter than they had ever been around me. Good. Fear had its uses, but respect tasted better. The oath cake stood between me and Malrik, 3 tiers of dark velvet crumb, ember honey cream, blood orange, bourbon vanilla, and gold sugar glass shaped like flame. Every clan head received a piece from my hand. Everyone ate. Some looked shocked. One elder actually teared up. I leaned toward Cindy. If he asks me for the recipe, charge him. Then Malrik stood before me. No crown, no armor. Just black formal cloth, loose dark hair, gold eyes fixed on me like the rest of the world had burned away. Julius read the final words. The claim began by gold. It must be completed by vow. Lady Belinda, do you stand bound by force, debt, fear, or falsehood? I looked at the ring, at the man, at the dragon, at the bakery owner I still was beneath the silk dress and court attention. No, I said. I stand because I choose to. Malrik's chest rose hard. Julius turned. Lord Malrik, do you stand bound by throne, law, hunger, or possession. Malrik did not look away from me. "I began in possession," he said. "I thought wanting meant taking. I thought protecting meant keeping. She taught me I was wrong." My throat tightened. His voice lowered. "I choose her, not as a weakness, not as accident, not as a thing my fire marked. I choose Belinda because she stood in my flame, defied my court, saved my enemy from my worst self, and still worried about Cake." A laugh broke through the terrace, soft and trembling. Malrik reached for me, then stopped, asked with his eyes. That almost undid me. I put my hand in his. He bent his head over my knuckles. "I do not know gentle the way you deserve," he said, "but I love you with every violent ancient thing in me, and I will learn gentle for you." The ring burned bright, not painful, alive. Gold fire circled both our hands, then sank into his skin and mine like a vow finding its home. "My turn?" I asked, blinking hard because absolutely nobody needed to see me cry in royal lighting. Julius nodded. I looked up at Malrik. "I choose you. Not because of a coin, not because dragon law got grabby, not because you scare everybody who looks at me wrong." His mouth twitched. "I choose you because when it mattered, you listened. Because you were terrifying. But you are trying, because you make me mad enough to throw pans and safe enough to sleep." His thumb brushed my hand. "And because I want you," I said, softer. His gold eyes darkened. The air warmed. I lifted my brows. Respectfully. Derek groaned somewhere behind me. "Lord." Malrik laughed, really laughed, then he kissed me. Not like a claim, like a promise. The court knelt. Again. 3 days later, Sweet Mercy reopened with fireproof glass, dragon security at the door, and a royal contract framed behind the register. Melon had made a sign. No black-red fire. No raw meat tributes. Pay before roaring. Cindy was taking orders from a dragon elder who wanted 6 dozen cinnamon rolls and looked embarrassed about it. Derek stood outside wearing sunglasses and holding a dragon steel baton like he had been born for security work. Malrik stood in my kitchen doorway with a bouquet too large for one human woman. I stared at him. "How many? 300? The internet was unclear again. Yes. I took the flowers. Then I took his collar and pulled him down until his mouth hovered over mine. After closing, I whispered, "You can continue learning gentle." His pupils burned gold. "Yes, my queen." The ring warmed. Outside, somewhere beyond the newly reinforced glass, a black-red ember sparked once in the gutter, then vanished before anyone else could see.
Every part of me, it longs for you in every way, so deep and true, physically, mentally. My heart is yours, my soul whispers your name forevermore. Whether you love me or hate me, I wanna be your only. Focus on me, don't let go, I'm madly in love, this I know. I'm selfish, I'll admit, I want you all just for me, that's it. I'll work hard for us, for our dreams. I'm yours, I'm yours, I'm yours, all yours forever it seems. In every moment, my mind is you. Every thought, every breath, it's true. I need you now, can't you see? You're everything that completes me. Whether you love me or hate me,